ये टेस्टिंग ऑडियो यूट्यूबर आहे व्यवस्थित. थँक यू. Can we start? नमस्कार. सुस्वागतम. Good morning everyone. Is audio okay? अगर आप लोग कोई सुन रहे हैं तो आप अगर चैट बॉक्स में येस या थम्स अप कुछ लिख देंगे तो we'll get notification. Thank you very much. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all who have joined us today on MS Teams and YouTube Live. This is the third webinar in our series, Successful Redevelopment, and it is titled Feasibility Study and Report. This is an initiative of Dhargalkar Technoesis. Thank you for joining the group, visiting our website, watching earlier videos, and sending questions. These questions we will address today on priority. These questions will help us while formulating FAQs also for our website. जो क्वेश्चन पूछ रहे हैं वो सिर्फ खुद की मदद नहीं कर रहे, वो दूसरों की भी मदद कर रहे हैं to acquire knowledge and information. Special mention for those who are visiting the website and posting questions there also. Thank you very much. Thank you once again. We are one big family. So I think thank you बोलते बोलते हम आपसे एक शिकायत भी कर सकते हैं. और शिकायत ये है कि आप वीडियोस देख तो रहे हैं यूट्यूब चैनल पे, लेकिन सब्सक्राइब नहीं कर रहे हैं. हमारी वेबसाइट को विजिट कर रहे हैं लेकिन रजिस्टर नहीं कर रहे. हाँ, बढ़ रहा है व्यूज, हम देख रहे हैं कि हमारे व्यूज बढ़ रहे हैं, सब्सक्राइबर्स बढ़ रहे हैं. फिर भी आप अगर हमारे वीडियोस लाइक कर रहे हैं, पसंद कर रहे हैं, और हमने एक ये चीज भी नोटिस की कि न सिर्फ हमारे इस वेबिनार के जो वीडियोस हैं, लेकिन जो पहले के वीडियोस हैं उसके भी व्यूज काफी बढ़ रहे हैं, लेकिन आप लोग सब्सक्राइब नहीं कर रहे. इट टेक्स जस्ट वन क्लिक एंड नथिंग मोर. सो आई वुड रिक्वेस्ट यू टू सब्सक्राइब टू आवर चैनल एंड रजिस्टर ऑन द वेबसाइट एज वेल. रजिस्टर करेंगे तो हमें पता चलेगा आपका नाम कौन विजिट कर रहा है, और आपको भी जब गाइड पोस्ट देखने होंगे तो आपको भी रजिस्टर करने की जरूरत पड़ेगी. ड्यूरिंग दिस सेशन ऑल्सो यू कैन पोस्ट योर क्वेश्चंस. Before we begin, let me run through few slides quickly. Theory without practice is useless. Practice without theory is walking blindfold. ये किसने कहा है इसके ऊपर काफी डिस्प्यूट है, लेकिन किसने कहा है उससे ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है कि क्या कहा है. थियोरी विदाउट प्रैक्टिस इज यूजलेस. यूजलेस है बट हार्मलेस है. तो हमारी थियोरी हमारे पास रह जाएगी, उसका इस्तेमाल नहीं होगा. बट प्रैक्टिस विदाउट थियोरी इज डेंजरस, क्योंकि हम कुछ करेंगे तो, लेकिन वो सही नहीं होगा, वो गलत दिशा में जा सकता है. दैट्स व्हाई इट्स वॉकिंग ब्लाइंडफोल्ड. तो यही हमारी प्रॉब्लम आज हम एड्रेस करने वाले हैं. Because our foundation should be strong, and that's exactly we are going to do today. We will make our theory, our foundation strong by knowing about the feasibility study and report from the expert, of course. कई सारे नए फ्रेंड्स हमारे ज्वाइन हुए हैं, तो उनकी जानकारी के लिए क्विकली इसके बारे में मैं थोड़ा सा बता दूं. टेक्नोसिस रीडेवलपमेंट हेल्प, ये जो है ये हमारा एक सोशल इनिशिएटिव है. इसमें कोई कमर्शियल एंगल नहीं है. ये हम जो भी नॉलेज 40 साल के एक्सपीरियंस में अक्वायर हुआ है उसको शेयर करना है, ज्यादा से ज्यादा लोगों तक पहुंचाना है, और उनको किसी भी मुश्किल में पड़ने से पहले ही बचाना है. यही इसका उद्देश्य है. इसमें सबसे पहले है TRH व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप. अभी हमने लिखा था close to 400 members, but we are glad to announce that we have crossed 400 mark today, and I'm sure we are going stronger and stronger. ये जो ग्रुप है ये हम केवल वेबिनार के बारे में अनाउंसमेंट, पोल्स, लिंक शेयर करना, क्वेश्चंस, इस चीज के लिए हम लोग यूज करते हैं. सो देर आर ओनली बेनिफिट्स. उसमें कोई न्यूसेंस नहीं है जैसे नॉर्मली न्यूसेंस होता है ग्रुप में, लेकिन दिस ग्रुप इज हैज नो न्यूसेंस. सो आई वुड रिक्वेस्ट एवरीबडी टू प्लीज ज्वाइन द ग्रुप, क्योंकि आज भी कई सारे लोग जो ज्वाइन कर रहे हैं यूट्यूब लाइव पे या MS टीम्स पे, लेकिन वो मेंबर्स नहीं है, ग्रुप में नहीं है. तो वी हैव गिवन अ नंबर, यू कैन जस्ट message us interested and you can join the group. Then we have our YouTube channel by the same name, Technoesis Redevelopment Help. On this channel, you will find all our videos of the current series as well as the earlier videos. And like I said, the views have surely gone up, but still the subscribers are still not that much. So we request you to subscribe. Then we have our email, redevelopmenthelp@gmail.com. On this, you can send your queries and questions, and we'll answer them. Like I said, the people are posting queries on the website also. That's also very good. You can post on the website as well. भी हमने जो लास्ट वेबिनार हुआ था, कुछ लोग ऐसे हैं जो जिन्होंने वो अटेंड नहीं किया था और ये अटेंड कर रहे हैं, तो उनके लिए एक छोटा सा रिकैप हम कर रहे हैं. Yeah, in the previous slide, I forgot to mention one thing, that was this series of webinars which we are conducting. That's also one big initiative. In that, we have already conducted 2. This is the 3rd one, and 4th one we will announce very soon. So coming to the recap, in the second webinar, we understood the roles of different agencies, where main players are society and developer, who are further assisted by their respective consultants and sub-agents. We delved into Guideline 79A of MCS Act, the provisions and essence of it, its limitations and recommendations for redevelopment project. Also, we saw the actionable points of 79A, and important observations were also shared with you. Next, we understood what is structural audit. What's the purpose of it? What are the statutory provisions by state government and BMC? Also, the provisions as per model bylaws of cooperative housing society. And then we saw the process of initiating the project and appointment of PMC, various steps of it, their time frame, who will initiate which step, what are the milestones, which records will be created, what are the guideposts for it, and so on. Further, we looked at the criteria for selection of PMC, like their experience, specifically in redevelopment, in handling the issues which your project may perhaps be facing, etc., etc. And now we are ready to delve into feasibility study and report, which is done by PMC. So after appointment of PMC, this is the next step. And today's speaker, Mr. Umesh Dhargalkar, will help us understand this topic, which is a foundation of redevelopment. There are some new faces this time also. So for their benefit, let me introduce Mr. Dhargalkar. Mr. Dhargalkar is B.Tech Civil and M.Tech Structural from IIT Bombay, with 40 years of experience in civil and structural engineering, specifically in buildings, new as well as old and dilapidated. Since last 18 years, he is handling redevelopment project. He has been regularly conducting certified training programs, public seminars, webinars, etc. since last 15 years, and has imparted more than 30,000 hours of training to more than 2,000 engineers. Over to Mr. Umesh Dhargalkar, who is a recipient of 2 national level awards, one as an innovator and another as a trainer in construction industry. So we know that he is surely an expert to talk on this subject as well as impart training. Over to Mr. Dhargalkar.
Good morning to you all. I'm really thankful to all of you who have been attending these webinars. And these thanks are from a very personal level. Those who are visiting the websites, then sending us feedback and words of appreciation. Especially, there were few people who called us and um, told us as to how much those guideposts are helping them. So those of you who have not visited the website or not tried those guideposts, which have been specially curated for redevelopment project based on our internal experience as project management consultants, I would suggest that you visit the website, just see what is there in store for you there, and just, these are the kind of guidelines you can just take them and use them. Well, this website has been developed as a free resource for the process of redevelopment. So you can do a project with confidence and not with anxiety. The very simple rule for success in redevelopment project is number one, a strong foundation. Number two, following a well set process. And number three, taking all due precautions, which are all addressed in the website. Now, this website is for citizens, ordinary citizens, members of housing societies, managing committee. Well, there are some sections which can be useful for PMCs. In fact, so many PMCs are asking questions in chat box also. And there are a couple of sections which can be useful for developer also to control and monitor their construction projects. Really happy that you are finding them useful. Now, the point is that at whatever stage your project is, you can enter there and chart your further course of action, or even pause there a little bit. कि आपने अब तक क्या क्या काम किया है और वेबसाइट में क्या दिया है, वो जरा देख के आप ये भी देख सकते हैं कि इस प्रोसेस में कुछ बचा तो नहीं है, और अगर कुछ बचा है then you can address it, create those records and then move ahead. Well, we have devised this series based on our website, right? And then we have already conducted 2 webinars. The first one was on a complete overview of the website. The second was on starting a project and appointing PMC. And now we are at the stage of feasibility study, which is the first step to be taken with the help of a PMC. Well, I don't know. Some of you must have got your feasibility reports made, and the kind of feasibility reports which I have actually had an opportunity to, see. वो 2 पेज का कैलकुलेशन रहता है, 3 पेज का होगा लेकिन कैलकुलेशन होता है. और अगर ये चीज इतनी, why is this? Okay. All right. तो अगर feasibility report is supposed to be the foundation of redevelopment, so it cannot be sketchy. मतलब जो बोलते हैं ना feasibility report, FR, it cannot be F standing for fiction. It has to have a proper reality into that, which will help you take the project from there onwards. तो वो कैसे होना चाहिए, उसके लिए आज हम बैठे हैं. और at the end of this webinar, I am sure you will find that this report has to be. Is that okay? Everything? Yeah. So this report is something which has to be prepared with a lot of caution, a lot of seriousness, a lot of insight. Then only it can be a useful basis for your project. So now let me take you to my slides. Okay. To begin with, let's see what we are going to cover here. We'll first सी द बेसिक कॉन्सेप्ट। आप लोग जो मतलब कोई भी चीज करने के पहले योर प्रोजेक्ट इज गोइंग टू स्टैंड ऑन सम बेसिक्स कॉन्सेप्ट्स। लाइक से एरिया क्या चीज होती है, हम देखते हैं मोपा एरिया होता है, रेरा एरिया होता है, देन कंस्ट्रक्शन एरिया होता है जिसको पहले सुपर बिल्डअप एरिया बोलते थे। एफएसआई के भी कई तरह टाइप्स है, बेसिक एफएसआई है, प्रीमियम एफएसआई है, टीडीआर इज ऑल्सो पार्ट ऑफ एफएसआई, फंजिबल एफएसआई। ये क्या चीज है? और बेस कारपेट एरिया, जो द एग्जिस्टिंग कारपेट एरिया in your society. Let's say you are a 100-member society with three types of carpet areas, 400, 500 and 600. तो इस बेसिस के ऊपर आपको रिडेवलपमेंट के बेनिफिट्स मिलते हैं। लेकिन ये जो बेसिस है, ये जो बेस कारपेट एरियाज है, वो किस तरह से हम लोग तय कर सकते हैं एट द बिगिनिंग ऑफ द प्रोजेक्ट। एंड दिस इज अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट कॉन्सेप्ट बिकॉज देयर आर सोसाइटीज which have not been able to move ahead क्योंकि उनका बेस कारपेट एरिया में ही बहुत डिस्प्यूट है। So how to decide these base carpet areas? That also we'll see. Then we will move on to the beginning of feasibility study with the basics and we'll understand the process. Steps क्या होते हैं? Of course, feasibility study जो होती है उसमें it starts with the technical feasibility. तो हम ये देखेंगे कि वो टेक्निकल feasibility के लिए डॉक्यूमेंट्स क्या-क्या जरूरी है। And then the next step would be financial viability, which consists of costs. There could be some 30 types of costs, revenue, and the viability criteria for a feasibility. Viability for the developer. Every feasibility report is prepared by your PMC, जिसमें आपके प्रोजेक्ट को डेवलपर के एंगल से देखा जाता है एज अ बिजनेस प्रपोजल। सो योर प्रोजेक्ट हैज टू बी वायबल फॉर द डेवलपर। अगर वो जरूरी है तो कौन से वायबिलिटी क्राइटेरिया, वो डेवलपर आपके प्रोजेक्ट को किस तरह से देखेगा, व्हाट वुड ही वांट टू कम आउट ऑफ इट इन हिज इंटरेस्ट, वो देखेंगे। देन रिपोर्ट जो मैंने अभी बोला है 2 या 3 पेज का, अगर वो ऐसा नहीं होना है तो उसमें क्या होना है, व्हाट शुड बी द कंटेंट्स ऑफ दैट। देन वी विल सी व्हाट आर द एडवांटेज ऑफ अ फिजिबिलिटी रिपोर्ट। एक तो हमने समझ लिया कि फिजिबिलिटी रिपोर्ट इज द बेसिस और द स्ट्रॉन्ग फाउंडेशन फॉर योर प्रोजेक्ट, लेकिन वो इतना ही नहीं, इट हैज मेनी वाइडर एप्लीकेशंस। तो वही रिपोर्ट, आपका रिपोर्ट या उसका प्रोसेस, what are the other applications for which you can easily use it in a very rational manner? Then key influences for commercial, especially for commercial viability. जैसे एक सोसाइटी को 50% एक्स्ट्रा कारपेट एरिया मिलता है, जबकि कोई दूसरी सोसाइटी नॉट वेरी फार फ्रॉम देयर, फ्रॉम द सेम लोकेशन, उसको 20% मिलता है या 22 या 23% मिलता है। ये जो फर्क है कि जिसमें किसी में ज्यादा किसी में कम, ये किस पैरामीटर से इन्फ्लुएंस होता है। सो व्हाट आर द की इन्फ्लुएंसर्स इन दैट, वी सी दैट, एंड व्हाट आर द कॉमन मिस्टेक्स व्हिच आर conducted by the PMCs and by the society people, we will see that also. And then जैसे हमने बोला कि भाई ये जो प्रोजेक्ट या ये जो वेबिनार है वो हमारी वेबसाइट की टर्मिनोलॉजी में अगर देखेंगे तो फेज 1 दैट इज द फिजिबिलिटी रिपोर्ट एंड स्टेज 2, करेक्ट। तो स्टेज 2 में जैसे फिजिबिलिटी रिपोर्ट कैसे बनाना है, बनता है, तो वी विल सी अ डेमो ऑफ द वेबसाइट ओनली टू दैट एक्सटेंट। नाउ लेट्स सी द बेसिक कॉन्सेप्ट्स। लेट्स बिगिन विथ एरिया। आपने तो सुना होगा कारपेट एरिया, मतलब कारपेट एरिया तो हम बहुत सालों से सुनते आ रहे हैं, मे बी एवर सिंस योर बिल्डिंग वाज कंस्ट्रक्टेड 30 इयर्स 40 इयर्स हम तो कारपेट एरिया सुनते ही आ रहे हैं, ओके। बट सडनली वो कुछ साल पहले, जैसे जब से रेरा आया, फिर 2 एरिया के बारे में बात होने लगी। वन वाज मोफा कारपेट एरिया and the other one was रेरा कारपेट एरिया. Now there are 2 different types of area, 2 different terminologies. So what are these 2 areas? Let's see about that. First is the mofa carpet area. Mofa carpet area, ये वो area है which we have been using as carpet area for all these 30 years. 30 meaning all these years in which I believe your building is more than 30 years. So I believe, so from in that context, whatever is your carpet area. So earlier people used to think कि जिसके ऊपर कारपेट डाल सकते हैं उसको बोलेंगे कारपेट एरिया. Well, it's a naive definition, no doubt about that. But ये जो wall to wall carpet area, wall to wall area, if your bedroom is say 10 by 12, 10 feet by 12 feet, so 10 into 12, 120 square feet becomes your MOPA carpet area. Remember, it's very much advisable to do your project, redevelopment project, जिसमें आप आपका एरिया मोफा टर्म्स में डिफाइन करें. रेरा में भी किया जा सकता है, ओके, बट मोफा टर्म्स में डिफाइन करें बिकॉज यू आर लिविंग for all that many years with that area in mind. So there is a clear clarity. तो आप मोफा में आपका एरिया स्पेसिफाई कर सकते हैं, जबकि आपको डेवलपर का ऑफर जो आ सकता है, दैट यू कैन से कि भाई आप हमको ऑफर भी मोफा में दो या ऑफर एरिया में, दैट्स अप टू यू. बट जनरली स्पीकिंग, फॉर existing flats in existing building, okay, we should specify the mofa carpet area, okay, and all the member benefits, like say, why is this area important? The carpet area is important because all your benefits, like say if you are going to get say 30% extra carpet area, or if your corpus amount is say 2,000 rupees a square foot, then what it means is this: अगर आपका carpet area 400 है, तो 400 into 30%, that is 120 will be the extra carpet area MOFA which you will be getting as a benefit of redevelopment, and like that 400 into say 2000, so that will be 8 lakhs will be the corpus. तो कहीं भी आप देखने जाएंगे ना, so this is the carpet area which is used as a basis. Now let's go to see कि अगर ये मोफा carpet area है तो रेरा carpet area क्या है. See, in RERA terms, all that area which is inside your external walls, okay, external walls is a RERA carpet area. Internal walls इसमें count नहीं होते. You get my point? So excluding areas under external walls, but including area under internal walls. तो दो में essentially फर्क यह है, मोफा carpet area में we do not take into account the area under the external or internal walls, whereas in RERA carpet area we exclude the external walls, but we do take into account the area under the internal walls. So the difference between them is mostly the area under the internal walls. अगर ये है तो बिल्ट अप एरिया क्या है? कार्पेट एरिया तो हमने समझ लिया, तो बिल्ट अप एरिया क्या है? तो बिल्ट अप एरिया के लिए ऐसा है कि ऑल दैट इज इंक्लूडिंग द एक्सटर्नल वॉल्स, जो आपके फ्लैट के पूरा अंदर बाहर जो एरिया है, इंक्लूडिंग ऑल द वॉल्स, बट नॉट आउटसाइड, नॉट द लिफ्ट एरिया, नॉट द लॉबी एरिया, नॉट द स्टेयरकेस एरिया. तो अगर बिल्टअप एरिया आप ये देखना चाहेंगे ना, तो मोफा कार्पेट एरिया जो मैंने बोला, मोफा हो या रेरा हो, दैट इज यूज्ड एज अ बेसिस फॉर योर डेवलपमेंट प्रोजेक्ट. बट वेयर इज बिल्टअप एरिया यूज? It is used for approvals because FSI and built-up area, they are synonymous. FSI से ही built-up area बनता है सेम. अगर आपका 100 स्क्वायर फीट FSI कंज्यूम हुआ है तो 100 स्क्वायर फीट built-up area आपको मिल रहा है. Of course, carpet area will be different because उसमें से wall चली जाएगी. So we can safely say that built-up area is carpet area plus all walls. करेक्ट? पूरे आपके फ्लैट के अंदर का जो भी है. अगर आपके if there is a wall which you are sharing, तो फिर आधी वॉल आपके यहाँ, आधी वॉल उनकी तरफ. अच्छा, अगर ये 3 एरिया है तो इनमें क्वांटिफिकेशन में कितना तक फर्क पड़ सकता है? तो इसके लिए मैंने यहाँ ये जो ब्रैकेट में दे दिया है ना, तो जस्ट सी फॉर अ बिल्ट अप एरिया. अच्छा, वन थिंग आई सेड दैट, बट लेट मी एलाबोरेट हियर. आपके प्लान जब ये अप्रूवल के लिए जाते हैं, वो FSI और बिल्टअप एरिया के ऊपर अप्रूव होते हैं. So from that perspective, built-up area is important, although it is not, you have nothing to do with it directly. तो अगर आपका built-up area suppose 100 स्क्वायर फीट है, तो ये समझ लीजिए कि आपका मोफा कार्पेट एरिया इन अ न्यू बिल्डिंग, जो आपकी नई बिल्डिंग जो बनेगी, उसमें समथिंग लाइक इट विल बी लाइक 88 स्क्वायर फीट. So roughly your mofa carpet area will be 12% less than the built-up area. एंड रेरा एरिया में तो और इंटरनल वॉल भी काउंट होती है. तो अगर इफ यू कंसीडर रेरा कार्पेट एरिया, देन एज कंपेयर्ड विद द बिल्टअप एरिया, इट विल बी, अगर ये 100 है तो वो 92 है. सो दैट विल बी 8% लेस. सो यू कैन थिंक ऑफ दिस एज अ वेरी, I mean, it's a kind of a thumb rule that your MOFA carpet area in a proposed building will be about 12% less than the built-up area, and the RERA carpet area will be about 8% less than the built-up area. Now let's go to the next area, which is called construction area, जिसको पहले super built-up area भी बोलते थे. Now, where आपका फ्लैट जहां पर है, उसके बाजू में आसपास में स्टेयरकेस है, लॉबी है, लिफ्ट है, फिर कार पार्क के लिए आपको पोडियम बनाना पड़ता है, बेसमेंट्स कभी कभी बनानी पड़ती है, सोसाइटी ऑफिस होता है, एमिनिटीज होते हैं, क्लब हाउस होता है. ऑल दिस एरिया, नो दिस एडिशन एरिया, मेनी टाइम्स इट इज फ्री ऑफ एफएसआई. मतलब एफएसआई में काउंट तो नहीं होता है. लेकिन अगर एफएसआई में काउंट नहीं होता है तो वो जो एरिया है कंस्ट्रक्ट तो करना पड़ता है. सो व्हेन यू आर अपॉइंटिंग अ कॉन्ट्रैक्टर टू कंस्ट्रक्ट योर बिल्डिंग, वो तो बोलेगा ये तो मुझे एरिया कंस्ट्रक्ट करना है, सो यू नीड टू पे मी फॉर दैट. There's so much of concrete construction here. So that is why there is a term called construction area. This area is much more than the built-up area. It could be 50% more than built-up area, it could be 60% more than built-up area, depending on our basement कर रहे, podium कर रहे, क्या, whatever, all that. But it is a very significant amount. And this area is used for awarding a contract to a contractor, or कभी-कभी because it contributes to the construction cost. And it is also considered when you go for environmental clearance, which is called MOEF, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. So usme ye area. So these are the three different types of areas. Now, when we say FSI, let me just make one thing very clear for those of you might be knowing this, but just for the sake of completeness. Let's say पूरी आपको बिल्डिंग के लिए 40,000 स्क्वायर फुट आपको FSI नए बिल्डिंग के लिए मिल गया. So what it means is this, that you can totally construct 40,000 square feet. What it means is this कि अगर हर फ्लोर पे आप 5,000 स्क्वायर फुट कंस्ट्रक्ट करना चाहते हैं, then you can go up to 8 floors, but 8 5 are 40,000. Okay. और अगर आपको every floor you want to construct 4,000 square feet, then you can go up to 10 floors like that. 5,000 का करना है तो 8,000 का एक फ्लैट करना है तो एक फ्लोर करना है तो 5. It is like that. तो ये ऐसा नहीं होता है कि बिल्डर कैन जस्ट गो ऑन बिल्डिंग फ्लोर एंड फ्लोर एंड फ्लोर एंड उसका प्रॉफिट बढ़ते हैं, ऐसा नहीं है. देयर इज ऑलवेज अ लिमिट ऑफ एफएसआई. एंड रिमेंबर, एफएसआई इज द मोस्ट स्केर्स कमोडिटी इन रीडेवलपमेंट. उसके ऊपर लिमिट होता है. Carpet, these are the carpet areas which you need to finalize before you take up the redevelopment project at the stage of feasibility stage itself. क्योंकि इसमें आपको एक जस्ट एग्जांपल बताता हूं. ये वो एरिया है. लेट मी सी फिजिबिलिटी का कॉन्सेप्ट ऐसा होता है. रिमेंबर, when you do a redevelopment project, understand this very clearly. When you do a redevelopment project, it has two stages. First is कि you do a project with your plot, not your existing building, क्योंकि existing building तो demolish होने वाली है. You do a project with the plot. So depending on the plot area, depending on what are the rules and regulations which apply to that location and all that thing, your project stands on that. Okay? वैसे ही उसके होता है. तो आपका जब बिल्डर जब भी देखता है नए प्रोजेक्ट के लिए, when he bids for your project, तो वो प्लॉट के ऊपर उसका प्रोजेक्ट खड़ा करता है. कितनी कॉस्ट जाएगी, क्या है. लेट्स से कि let's say, okay, I'll come to that concept later. तो लेकिन फिर वो प्रोजेक्ट आपके प्रोजेक्ट को मेनली प्लॉट के एंगल से देखता है, उसके एफएसआई के एंगल से देखता है. एंड then he passes on or you demand certain benefits from the developer. Now when you demand those developer आपको ना टोटल बेनिफिट देता है प्लॉट के लिए. So step A is the plot. वो प्लॉट के ऊपर आपका प्रोजेक्ट बनता है, आपके फ्लैट के एरिया के ऊपर नहीं बनता है. ओके, मोस्ट सिग्निफिकेंटली. एक बार वो so much of area or so much of corpus when it is passed on to you as a society, then internally this is step B. फिर वो एरिया आप इंटरनली आपके अंदर डिवाइड करते हैं. इफ यू आर 100 members, then you divide that to total benefits among yourself. और वो किस बेसिस पे आप डिवाइड करते हैं? बेस कार्पेट एरियाज. ओके, जो 400 है, किसका 500 है, किसका 600 है. So depending on the existing carpet area, which I am calling base carpet area, all our tenders, we call this base carpet area so that there is no kind of a misunderstanding when you talk about this area. तो ये this area is used for sharing of benefits as a basis. Okay. तो ये कैसे तय करते हैं? If आपको ना, in some society this becomes a very very big challenge. तो इसके लिए आपको ये अगर तय करना है, अगर मतलब ये तो करना ही पड़ता है. एक तो व्हाट यू कैन डू इज दैट वॉट एवर एरिया यू बीन फॉलोइंग फॉर maintenance etc., maintenance in bills etc., you can continue with that with a proper understanding. लेकिन फिर कभी कभी किसको लगता है फिर redevelopment तो once in 30 years हो रहा है. Maybe my area for which I've been charged all these 30 years, the maintenance, maybe that area is not correct. But now I want a correct area because all my benefits are going to depend on that. In which case you may have to fix this area now. तो उसमें जो मेनली जो 2 यार्डस्टिक फॉलो होती है, एक है उसमें से कि आप उसको यू कैलकुलेट इट फ्रॉम ओल्ड अप्रूव्ड प्लान्स. अगर आपके पास ओसी ऑक्यूपेंसी सर्टिफिकेट के स्टेज के अगर प्लान्स है, ओके, तो वो प्लान से आप उसका कार्पेट एरिया कैलकुलेट करके अगर यू कैलकुलेट करते हैं तो दैट कुड बी अ वेरी साउंड यार्डस्टिक फॉर डिसाइडिंग द बेस कार्पेट एरिया. वेरी वेरी साउंड, मतलब इसको कोई चैलेंज नहीं कर सकता है क्योंकि वो एफएसआई से आया हुआ है. सो existing building was also constructed out of FSI. The new building is also going to be constructed out of FSI. तो ये एकदम दिस अ वेरी वेरी साउंड बेसिस. लेकिन अगर आपके पास ओसी लेवल के प्लान्स नहीं है तो आप ये एरिया कैसे तय कर सकते हैं? तो फॉर दैट व्हाट यू कैन डू इज दैट यू कैन मेजर टिपिकल फ्लैट्स फिजिकली एट साइट. टिपिकल आई एम सेइंग जी, क्योंकि जिन लोगों ने, बट आई एम नॉट एडवाइजिंग दिस, अगर आपके पास प्लान्स पुराने हैं और वो उसी लेवल के अप्रूव्ड प्लान्स है, आई वुड एडवाइज यू नॉट टू गो टू मेजर दिस प्लान्स. क्योंकि मेजरमेंट आप करेंगे तो आपके फर्क आएगा, ऊपर नीचे भी फर्क आएगा, फिर डिस्प्यूट बन जाएगी, लोग बोलने लगे मेरा एरिया इतना है, मेरा एरिया इतना है. दिस इज बाउंड टू हैपन. So if you have those plans, don't get into this. Otherwise, if you don't have that option, तो आप उसको physically measure करो. लेकिन ideally measure those flats which are in the pristine condition. मतलब पहले के जैसे ही है, कोई change नहीं हुआ है. There are no alterations as much as possible, or minimum observations, minimum alterations. और क्या करना कि मतलब you take, you know, if you measure all the flats in one vertical line, ideally they should measure the same because that's how they were constructed. But actually if you measure ना, वो नहीं आते. तो फिर आपको you will have to kind of set a rule among yourself. भैया हम एक टाइप के ऊपर नीचे के 3 फ्लैट मेजर करेंगे, उसका एवरेज लेंगे, and there should be no further dispute. So you can follow this yardstick also. But whichever yardstick you are following, you have to first get it approved in the general body. नहीं तो क्या होगा, आपने ये मेथड, नहीं तो क्या होगा, आपने एक फिजिकल ओल्ड अप्रूव्ड प्लान से आपने निकाला, ठीक है, तो देन पीपल विल से नहीं यार मेरा सही नहीं, मेरा इतना है, मेरा इतना है, फिर मेजर करो. देन यू हैव 2 यार्डस्टिक, 2 डिफरेंट वैल्यूज, एंड देन यू गेट लॉस्ट इन दैट, एंड वो प्रोजेक्ट होता नहीं. सो इट इज वेरी गुड पॉलिसी टू डिसाइड बिफोर हैंड इन अ जनरल बॉडी मीटिंग कि भैया हम कैसे करें, and then proceed accordingly. And then whatever areas they come out of that with rationalization with average and everything, वो सब है ना, उसको लेके आपको चलना चाहिए. Whatever yardstick you are going to use, it should be mutually accepted. इसलिए मैंने बोला जनरल बॉडी. Now, balconies कारपेट एरिया में लेने चाहिए कि नहीं? Like that door jam meaning जो भी अपना बेडरूम का डोर है, सपोज 3 फुट का है और उसका वॉल का थिकनेस है लेकिन चेंज, सो 3 फीट इंटू हाफ फुट, दैट इज से अबाउट 1.5 स्क्वायर फीट ऑफ एरिया, विच इज कॉल्ड डोर जैम. इट्स अ स्ट्रिप ऑफ डोर. ओके, तो वो आपको वो लेना है कि नहीं, और बालकनी लेना है कि. नॉर्मली बालकनीज एंड डोर जैम्स, एज आई सेड, दे मे और मे नॉट बी इंक्लूडेड, बट नॉर्मली दे आर इंक्लूडेड. लेकिन लेट मी टेल यू, अगर आपकी बालकनी, तो क्वेश्चन कुड बी लाइक, अगर पहले बालकनी हमारी फ्री ऑफ एफएसआई होती तो हम क्यों ले? तो अगर आप नहीं लेना चाहते तो भी इट इज ओके, क्योंकि आई विल टेल यू इट एक्चुअली डजंट मैटर. इफ यू डू फिजिबिलिटी कैलकुलेशन, इफ यू डू लिटिल बिट ऑफ मतलब आप उसका स्टडी करेंगे, थोड़ा एनालिसिस करेंगे, यू विल रियलाइज। आई गिव एन एग्जांपल, लाइक से फॉर एग्जांपल कि आपका एरिया आज है 400 स्क्वायर फुट एफएसआई में से अंदर अंदर एक्सक्लूडिंग बालकनी। ओके, इफ यू डिक्लेयर दैट एज 400 स्क्वायर फीट and then you get the benefit as say 50%, आपको डेवलपर से 50% का ऑफर है, so you get 50%. So 400 का 50% हो गया 600, मतलब 600 आपको एरिया मिल गया. So 600 मिल गया आपको एरिया on 400. Now look, अगर आपने ये एरिया 400 है, उसके ऊपर 40 स्क्वायर फुट which is let's say 10% of 400 which was free of FSI area as a balcony, और 10 स्क्वायर फुट जस्ट राउंड अबाउट ये आपने दो जन ऐसा करके, इफ यू डिसाइड दैट योर एग्जिस्टिंग एरिया इज 450 एंड इफ यू हैड डिक्लेयर्ड योर एरिया एज 450 इंस्टेड ऑफ 400, then the offer total, the final carpet area of your flat would still have been close to 600 only. That is how. मैंने आपको क्या बोला, there is step 1, step A and step B. Step A is on plot and step B is on internal. So step A से जो एरिया एग्रीगेट निकलता है वो ज्यादा चेंज नहीं होता है. सो अगर आपका 600 है और आपने 450 अगर आपने एरिया डिक्लेयर किया हुआ है, देन यू विल हैव टू लुक एट इट दिस वे कि if my area is 450 square feet, then I am getting 33% extra because you are getting 150. So ज्यादा एरिया डिक्लेयर, बालकनी लेने से एरिया ज्यादा मिलता है ऐसा नहीं होता है. ऑफकोर्स बालकनी एरिया, डोरजैम एरिया उसमें ऐड करने से आपको रेंट ज्यादा मिलेगा, आपको कॉर्पस ज्यादा मिलेगा, लेकिन एरिया ज्यादा नहीं मिलता है, बिकॉज इट ऑल डिपेंड्स ऑन द फिजिबिलिटी कैलकुलेशंस इंटरनली वर्क आउट इन सच ए वे दैट दिस इज अ सेल्फ बैलेंसिंग काइंड ऑफ एक्सरसाइज. नाउ किसी किसी के पास होते हैं प्राइवेट टेरेसेस which were given sold by the earlier builder 25 years ago for some consideration. तो उनके प्राइवेट है, आप उनके ऊपर उनको मेंटेनेंस भी लगा रहे हैं, सब कुछ है, तो उसको उसके लिए क्या करें, बट दे वर नॉट काउंटेड इन एफएसआई. ओके, एंड देयर आर वेरी फ्यू सच टेरेसेस. पूरी बिल्डिंग में 2 3 4 होंगे उस टाइम पे मैक्स. सो लाइक दैट देयर कैन बी गराजेस व्हिच आर क्लोज गराजेस कि जिसमें एफएसआई कंज्यूम नहीं किया. जब भी ऐसी सिचुएशन आती है कुछ बिल्डिंग में, देन इन अ जनरल बॉडी इट व्हाट यू शुड टेक दिस पॉइंट फॉर डिस्कशन एंड अराइव एट अ म्यूचुअली एग्रीएबल सॉल्यूशन. उनको कुछ तो बेनिफिट देना पड़ेगा. लेकिन अगर वो डिमांड करते हैं कि मेरा टेरेस इतना है तो मेरे को पूरा एफएसआई लेना, ऐसा नहीं होता है, बिकॉज इट वाज नेवर काउंटेड इन एफएसआई. अगेन नाउ गराजेस, इफ क्लोज गराजेस वेयर काउंटेड इन एफएसआई व्हेन द बिल्डिंग वाज कंस्ट्रक्टेड, ऑब्वियसली यू हैव टू टेक दैट इन द एफएसआई. लेकिन अगर गराजेस बने हैं, क्लोज्ड है, लेकिन उसमें अगर एफएसआई वाज नॉट कंज्यूम्ड, देन they don't get that benefit of that FSI, but they should get some kind of a benefit, and that you should be like, you have to show your true cooperative spirit here, so that you actually arrive at those amicable kind of resolutions, so that आपके साथ में जो इतने सारे से रह रहे, so they are also not deprived of at least some benefit for their terraces and garages. And as I said, yardstick and method to be decided in HGM. Yes. नाउ अभी जाते हैं हम एफएसआई. एफएसआई के लिए मैंने बेसिक एफएसआई जो है क्लोज स्पेस इंडेक्स, दैट आई एक्सप्लेन टू यू व्हेन आई सेड कि अगर 40,000 है तो इट इज 5,000 into 8 और 8,000 into 5 और 4,000 into 10 फ्लोर्स. दैट्स सेट. फिर हम देखते हैं कि भाई ये एफएसआई जो मिलता है वो किस किस टाइप का होता है. ओके, द मोस्ट बेसिक एफएसआई जो आपका खुद का है, दैट इज कॉल्ड बेसिक एफएसआई, जोनल एफएसआई. ठीक है, और वो अभी इसमें ना एफएसआई वो सबके लिए, आई हैव टू एक्सप्लेन दिस, आई हैव टेकन अ रेफरेंस ऑफ रेगुलेशन 33(7) बिकॉज आई एम एक्सप्लेनिंग दिस कॉन्सेप्ट्स, तो कुछ तो एक रेफरेंस लगेगा मुझे. तो 33(7)B का मैंने एक रेफरेंस लिया है, जो विच इज द मोस्ट सक्सेसफुल, द मोस्ट स्टेबल रेगुलेशन, वो लिया है. और एरियाज के लिए मैंने लिया है कि मुंबई सबर्ब्स. ओके, उस एंगल से मैं आपको सब डेफिनेशन बता रहा हूँ. तो जोनल एफएसआई इज वन. अभी आप अगर रिडेवलपमेंट कर रहे हैं तो नेचुरली आई बिलीव दैट द प्लॉट इज इन द कन्वीनियंस आपके पास है, क्योंकि अगर आपके पास कन्वीनियंस नहीं है तो आप रिडेवलपमेंट डायरेक्टली नहीं कर सकते. यू कैन नॉट साइन एग्रीमेंट विद द डेवलपर बिकॉज यू आर नॉट अ ओनर ऑफ द प्लॉट. हैविंग सेड दैट, अगर आपके पास कन्वीनियंस है तो ये प्लॉट आपका है, इसलिए उसका जो बेस एफएसआई 1 है वो आपका खुद का है, एंड दैट इज व्हाई इट इज फ्री. क्योंकि you are holding the conveyance. But उसमें अगर आपका ये जो एरिया है, plot area, if it is say, let's say 5,000 square meter, 5,000 square meter, तो उसके लिए ना एक पब्लिक ओपन स्पेस करके आपको 5% यू हैव टू गिव इट अप. मतलब 4,000, अगर आपका 5,000 अगर 4,000 के नीचे है तो दिस प्रोविजन विल नॉट अप्लाई. बट इफ यू आर, लेट्स से टेक द केस ऑफ 5,000 स्क्वायर मीटर प्लॉट एरिया, सो 5,000 का 5%, 250 square meter is the area which you will have to forego as public open space. But of course, you get a monetary benefit of that at the time of costing, double of whatever area which you lose. Okay, but ये आपका एरिया गया और आपका नेट एरिया भी बन जाएगा 5,000 minus 250, and your project will stand with that as net plot area. Now, if your plot is more than 10,000 square, let's say 12,000 square, then the POS will be 500 square feet plus 10% of 2,000, which is 12,000 minus 10,000 square meter. तो 700 स्क्वायर मीटर आपका गया. अगेन उसका बेनिफिट आपको मॉनिटरी टर्म्स में मिल जाता है. सो एक बार इस तरह से आपका नेट प्लॉट एरिया मिल गया, देन द नेक्स्ट टाइप ऑफ एफएसआई इज प्रीमियम एफएसआई. नाउ योर रियल एफएसआई इज ओनली बेसिक एफएसआई. अगर आपके पास बेसिक एफएसआई है तो आपके पास ये दूसरे कजिन्स आ जाते हैं. आई एम कॉलिंग देम कजिन्स. प्रीमियम एफएसआई इज अ कजिन ऑफ बेसिक एफएसआई. तो वो जो है उसको कभी कभी गवर्नमेंट एफएसआई मिलते हैं, बिकॉज गवर्नमेंट इज चार्जिंग प्रीमियम ऑन दिस विच इज शेयर्ड बिटवीन गवर्नमेंट एंड द कॉर्पोरेशन एंड इंटरनली. Okay, so they sell this FSI to you and you can buy it from them at the rate which is fixed. Like say for example 50% of the ready reckoner rate for that location. लेकिन आप कितना खरीद सकते हैं? Half of what your original zonal FSI है. अगर आपका zonal FSI है let's say 2,000 square meter आपके प्लॉट का, तो आप 1,000 square meter खरीद सकते हैं, not more than that, up to 1,000 square meter. And by paying a premium which is 50% of ready reckoner rate of fixed value, रेट चेंज नहीं होता है. अगर रेडी रेकनर रेट चेंज होगा तो ये रेट भी चेंज होगा. पर दिस इज कॉल्ड प्रीमियम एफएसआई और गवर्नमेंट एफएसआई. तो आपका एफएसआई बेसिक प्लस प्रीमियम बन के हो गया 1 + 0.5 1.5. फिर आ जाता है टीडीआर, ट्रांसफर ऑफ डेवलपमेंट राइट्स, विच इज ऑल्सो वन काइंड ऑफ एफएसआई. ये उसका दूसरा कजिन है. So you get premium FSI, you get TDR only if you have a basic FSI, and you get it with reference to the basic FSI. तो TDR किस तरह से मिलता है? अगर it depends on the width of the road on which your plot is situated. If the road width of the road is 9 meter up to 12 meter, less than 12 meter, so you get again 0.5. For 12 meter or wider, you get 0.7. 18 meter or wider, you get 0.9, and 27 meter or wider, you get 1, which is the maximum. So let's say you have a 2,000 square, let's say आपका 10 meter का रोड है. So you are, so if your plot area is say 2,000 square meter, your basic FSI is 2,000, premium FSI is 1,000, and again because it is a between 9 meter and 12 meter, you get another product, another 1,000. तो 2,000 plus 1,000 plus 1,000 आपके पास 4,000 बन गए. Like that, if your plot is say on 27 meter wide road, तो आपको 1,000 पहले मिल गया, 1,000 प्रीमियम एफएसआई मिल गया, सॉरी 2,000 बेसिक एफएसआई मिल गया, 1,000 प्रीमियम एफएसआई मिल गया, एंड अगेन 2,000 आपको टीडीआर मिल गया. So that is how it goes, and then your maximum FSI becomes 2 for 9 meter wide road, or 2.2 for 12 meter, or 2.4 for 18 meter, or 2.5 for 27 meter. अभी ये हो गया. अभी ये दो सब FSI के ऊपर, इस FSI के ऊपर अपने को और FSI which we get, that is called fungible FSI. Fungible means compensatory FSI. Okay, now this is a compensation given to you because earlier people were allowed to construct balcony 10% free of FSI, etc. Now there is no free FSI. There is no free of FSI area which you can take in your flat. And therefore this is given as a compensatory FSI. Now how much is it? ये जो पहले हमने FSI देखा नीचे 2, 2.2, 2.4, 2.5 जो भी होगा 35% of that is given to you again as a limit 35% as a fungible FSI. Now this FSI has again two components. Part of it is free. Now this is for, so far what I discussed about FSI is true for न्यू कंस्ट्रक्शन, मतलब जहां पे ओपन प्लॉट है वहां भी एफएसआई लगता है और जो रीडेवलपमेंट है वहां भी एफएसआई लगता है. लेकिन रीडेवलपमेंट के केस में या न्यू कंस्ट्रक्शन के या ओपन प्लॉट के केस में all this 35% total FSI of this FSI, that is fungible FSI, is fully chargeable. Whereas in case of redevelopment, agar whatever was approved in your plan 30 years ago, whatever was approved in your plan 30 years ago, that FSI, उसका आप 35% कैलकुलेट करके जो वैल्यू आता है that is given to you free. Okay. Now total fungible FSI is 35% of total, that is 2.5 or whatever. Whereas what you get free is 35% of only that which was constructed 30 years ago. Right? And फिर जो बैलेंस जो होता है, okay, वो if you are using that as a residential part, then you pay a premium at 50% ready reckoner rate. And if you are using it for commercial part, then you will have to pay a premium of 60% of the ready reckoner rate. Now, there's a very common question people ask. When they get, many people get an additional carpet area का offer आता है 23%. Very funny number. And they say, अरे भाई हमारा तो entitlement 35% है, जो free है, and that is the, and remember, this free fungible FSI, उसका rule ऐसा है कि the developer cannot use it for his in a redevelopment project. He cannot use it in his flats and sell it. तो देना है आपको ही. Then people say this is our rightful area 35%. हम 23% कैसे मान? तो इसमें ऐसा है. See, if you have declared your base carpet area, including the balcony which was free of FSI at 10% there, let's say आपका FSI वाला area earlier was say 100 square feet, and balcony came free with that, and that was 10 square feet extra. So the carpet area from FSI is 100 square feet, and the carpet area free of FSI as a balcony was 10 square feet. Now, you do get 35% as your entitlement, as your right, but on 100, not on 110. Okay? तो अगर आप 100 पे मिलता है तो आपका एरिया बन जाता है 135, because that's you get 35%. But how do we look at it? हम देखते हैं 110 के ऊपर हमको 135 मिला. So we get only 25 square feet extra. 110 square feet मेरा फ्लैट था, but I got only 25%. And if you calculate that, 25% is how much percent of 110? It works out to 22.73%. So that is the magic behind this number. That is why when people give you 22.73%, but if you have declared your areas only as FSI areas, excluding balcony, then your entitlement will still be 35% and not 23% or anything less than 35%. Now for redevelopment is one more clause. अगर जिसको बोलते हैं clause 33(7)(b) for buildings which are 30 years or older. आपकी बिल्डिंग को अगर 30 साल हो गए तो ये आपको एक बेनिफिट मिलता है. वो ये ऐसा है कि 10 स्क्वायर मीटर पर फ्लैट, आपके अगर सपोज 100 फ्लैट है तो 100 into 10, so 1000 स्क्वायर मीटर पर फ्लैट, और 15% ऑफ द एग्जिस्टिंग बिल्टअप एरिया जो पहले आपका अप्रूव्ड प्लान में था. आपका अप्रूव्ड प्लान में whatever was that area, take 15% of that. Higher of the two value you can get, for which TDR will be free. You don't get this as additional FSI. TDR की जो कॉस्ट थी उसमें से इतना एरिया की कॉस्ट आपकी रिड्यूस हो जाएगी. एंड TDR की जो कॉस्ट होती है, TDR इज ऑलवेज परचेज. आई फॉरगॉट टू से दैट पॉइंट देयर, दैट जैसे आप प्रीमियम FSI वगैरह जिसके यू पे टू द गवर्नमेंट एट अ फिक्स रेट, TDR is a market driven commodity. So the rate for which TDR you can purchase can change because it is to be procured from the open market. So here, so much less TDR You don't have to purchase that much TDR. So that is the benefit. Now there was a क्वेश्चन ऑल्सो कि भाई एफएसआई पोटेंशियल क्या है. कभी कभी इसको बोलते हैं प्लॉट पोटेंशियल. पोटेंशियल मीनिंग आप हाउ मच यू कैन पोटेंशियली कंज्यूम इन टर्म्स ऑफ एफएसआई. तो बेसिक एफएसआई, प्रीमियम एफएसआई, टीडीआर एंड फंजिबल एफएसआई ऑल टुगेदर व्हेन यू ऐड देम अप, ओके, यू गेट द टोटल एफएसआई पोटेंशियल, जिसके ऊपर आप या उससे ज्यादा आप कंस्ट्रक्ट नहीं कर सकते. Okay. RRR is ready reckoner rate, which is declared at the beginning of every year in the month of April. अभी अप्रैल महीने में इस साल का ready reckoner rate आएगा. And if you open that book, you will find that ready reckoner rates are specified for different location, different villages. उसके बहुत सारे charts रहते हैं. Charts में से you have to find out where is your location, what is your CTS number, and you will get the ready reckoner rate for that. Now, total FSI potential, if you add fungible also, the minimum will be 2 plus 35%, that is 2.7, and the maximum will be 2.5 plus 35%. अगर आपका plot 27 मीटर के रोड पर है तो in which case it will be 3.375%. So this is the range. Now, थोड़ा तो हमने मतलब we have got now familiar with the terms. Now let us see feasibility study. And now we are going to talk about those 2 or 3 or 4 pages which you get with numbers in there. And we are going to see actually what it should be or what insight it should give you. What right now what it gives you? भैया आपको इतना % extra area मिल सकता है, ये all commercial. But there is a lot more than that about a feasibility report. It's not just those calculations. Of course, calculations are part of that, but there are many more other things. So let's see about that. So let us understand the basics of feasibility. Now, पहले तो मैं आपको एक basic, एकदम simple feasibility का एक concept दे देता हूँ. Let's say feasibility मतलब क्या? Developer is looking at your project and he is thinking, well, how much do I have to spend, invest in this project? मतलब मुझे इसमें कितना पैसा डालना है. So he has to do the costing. तो costing जो करेंगे, there are maybe 30 types of costs or maybe more. अगर आप all with detail में जानना चाहें. So अलग अलग cost करके वो total करेगा आपके भाई ये total cost मेरा let's say 100 crore आता है, just for a simple understanding. अगर उसका 100 crore, very simple concept, एकदम basic पे एकदम simple है, लेकिन implementation इतना easy नहीं. तो अगर 100 crore cost है, तो a developer may think that मुझे इसमें से 25% प्रॉफिट चाहिए. It's very simplistic way of putting it. ऐसा होता नहीं है. Of course, आपके पास जो पेपर्स आते हैं वो simplistic ही होते हैं, but we are going to get more insights into it. So let's say developer thinks that I want 25% profit. Then, okay, some developers में से मेरे को 20% भी चलेगा, some developers में से मुझे 30% चलेगा. That is their own individual perception, right? तो उसके बेसिस पे लेट्स से टेक द 25%, एक डेवलपर बोलता है मुझे 25% प्रॉफिट चाहिए, तो he has to recover 100 crores which is going to invest and he has to recover his profit of 25 crores. So he has to somehow get 125 crores out of that. I am telling you the fundamental concept of feasibility. अगर उसको 125 crores इसमें से निकालने हैं, तो निकालने का एक ही तरीका है, by selling flats or flat shops, whatever. Okay, so he can only sell and make that money. So now let's say कि वहां पे कुछ selling rate है. Okay, I'll take a bigger this thing. Let's say bigger. Okay, 400. Let's say the cost is 400 crores and the developer wants a profit of 25 crores. So total 400 plus 25% of 400 is 100. So he has to recover 500 crores from the project. Now he has to reserve that much area कि जो बेच के पैसा निकाले. तो 500 डिवाइडेड बाय लेट्स से वहां का सेलिंग रेट है से 50,000, जस्ट अगेन टू मेक द डिवीजन पॉसिबल. तो उसको आपको 1 लाख स्क्वायर फुट एरिया देना है. मतलब देना है मतलब ही विल से कि मुझे 1 लाख स्क्वायर फुट एरिया दो तो मेरा एक हो. नाउ हमने अभी तो प्लॉट पोटेंशियल तो देखा, एफएसआई पोटेंशियल। तो एफएसआई पोटेंशियल मतलब कार्पेट एरिया जो टोटल बनने वाला है, फ्रॉम दैट इफ यू रिमूव और इफ यू सब्ट्रैक्ट 1 लाख स्क्वायर फीट, ओके, वॉट एवर रिमेन्स इज योर एक्स्ट्रा कार्पेट एरिया। नाउ व्हेन आई से कॉस्ट, वो कॉस्ट में आपको जो कॉर्पस है वो भी उसमें आ गया, आपको रेंट भी देना है, दैट ऑल्सो इज अ कॉस्ट, because although you may get the corpus as a benefit for a developer, feasibility has to be looked at from the eyes of the developer. तो उसके लिए तो वो कॉस्ट है यू में, सो एवरीथिंग यू डिमांड फ्रॉम द डेवलपर बिकम्स अ कॉस्ट फॉर यू. So after that provision has been made, and if you divide by the whatever remains from the total FSI is the this. तो फिर उसमें से वो 30% आता है, 40% आता है, 50% आता है. That will depend upon the calculation. Okay. Now with that, let me give you that. मैंने भी जाके देखा गूगल में, भैया फिजिबिलिटी वर्ड का मीनिंग क्या है. इज इट पॉसिबिलिटी? तो पॉसिबिलिटी तो बहुत सारी चीज होती है. राइट नाउ देयर इज अ पॉसिबिलिटी ऑफ एनीथिंग हैपनिंग हियर, एनीथिंग. आप कुछ भी सोचिए, आपको लॉटरी लग गई, पॉसिबिलिटी है. ओके. आपने क्या बोलूं मैं, यू आप ट्रेन से जा रहे हैं, आपको टिकट बुक करना है, टिकट मिला नहीं मिला, पॉसिबिलिटी है. ओके. सो हाउ इज पॉसिबिलिटी डिफरेंट फ्रॉम फिजिबिलिटी? ओके, देयर आर सर्टन थिंग्स, देयर आर मेनी मेनी थिंग्स व्हिच आर पॉसिबल. अभी वो कौन पॉसिबल करेगा? लाइक फ्लाइंग इज पॉसिबल, किसको? सुपरमैन को. सो लाइक दैट, किसके लिए क्या पॉसिबल है? देयर आर मेनी थिंग्स व्हिच आर पॉसिबल, बट देयर आर डेफिनेटली सम इम्पॉसिबिलिटीज ऑल्सो. जैसे 3 पैर का आदमी इज इम्पॉसिबिलिटी, दैट्स अ डिफरेंट थिंग ऑल टुगेदर. बट पॉसिबिलिटीज देयर आर सो मेनी, सो मेनी. But then, how is feasibility different from possibility? The answer is from the terms of practicality. Practical है क्या? हो सकता है, that is fine. मुझे 30% भी एक्स्ट्रा एरिया मिल सकता है, 40% भी मिल सकता है. Well, that's the way anyone can look at it. But when you actually go to do the project, the practical things will set in. Practically possible है क्या? Achievable है क्या? Financially viable है क्या? And कब? In the given circumstances, with the resources which you are talking about. So this is the definition of feasibility. And this has to be really worked out well. And that is why we have to think in terms of the project first. This actually concept I have explained to you. Feasibility is, as I said, the concept for the entire project. So cost is calculated for the entire project. Okay. The FSI is resolved by the developer to get that cost plus profit for the entire project. And whatever remains is the profit which has to be shared among you. This is a second part to the society. And within the society, the sharing is done in terms of their existing base carpet area. Now, your feasibility should give you an idea, a complete vision about your project. It should also identify possible risks and challenges. Not just कि आपको ये मिल सकता है, भैया क्या नहीं हो सकता है. What is not practical, that also has to be. You have to understand that. You have to deal with the realities of your project. And I have found that very few people, I at least honestly very sorry, but मैंने तो ऐसा feasibility report और किसका, कुछ तो लोग बनाते होंगे, लेकिन ऐसा नहीं बनाते most of them. So risk and challenges have to be also factored in, and even after factoring that, people have to understand कि भाई ये risk और challenges तो रहेंगे. Now next, now एक बार feasibility report बन गया, then it becomes a foundation of the project, and it goes and it will also form the basis of tendering. Well, I'm not surprised that even 79A says that feasibility road should be realistic. Again, थोड़ा समय पहले मैंने बोला, feasibility report, FR, fictional है क्या, flimsy. Okay, देखो FR का मतलब क्या है? It's a P का F के लिए जो मीनिंग है ना, so it should not be a very very sketchy calculation, very shoddy kind of exercise कि जिसमें आपको reality समझ में ही नहीं. That is why 79 also says that the feasibility report, वास्तववादी, that is the word which is used in Marathi. Report वास्तववादी असावा, meaning the feasibility report should be realistic, and it is the responsibility of every PMC to prepare a realistic feasibility report and bring out the good and bad points to the attention of the client. Well, it has its own advantages and limitations, which we'll see in detail later. Many times, again, I won't deliberate on this, but this is a concept which is misused for pursuit of grade. इसको लेके भाई कैसे 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 भाई there are societies. अरे इस PMC का feasibility report अच्छा नहीं लगा, इसमें बस 30% ही था, but we यहाँ 30% थोड़ी होता है. Neighboring societies got 40%. So this PMC is not good enough. So let us find another PMC who will work out and come to close to 40%. So that kind of thing, you know, फिर वो चलते रहता है, and then redevelopment का प्रोजेक्ट जो आपका यहाँ से फोकस निकल जाता है, and then the project doesn't take off in the first place itself. Now, what is it? It's a techno-commercial study. Remember, it's an independent study. Independent because it is undertaken by your PMC, and it has to be an in-depth exercise by your PMC. And it has to first start with technical feasibility, जो आपके वो 3 पेज कैलकुलेशन में कहीं दिखता ही नहीं. So technical feasibility meaning ऐसा है कि एक टाइप का प्रोजेक्ट इतने FSI का, whether are there any height restrictions, मतलब कहीं कुछ कन्वेंस इनका है क्या, okay, is basement possible there. There are so many things. Before you actually go to the calculation, of course, there's a separate slide for that. But technical feasibility has to be first established to understand whether practically the project is feasible or not. And then comes financial viability to understand, okay, if it's feasible in this condition, तो फिर उसका financial calculation कैसे दिखेगा, and what could be the benefits which the society can get. Now, this is the two things thing. If your project is technically not feasible, forget about financial viability. There's no point in doing that. Okay. But normally, no project is considered to be not feasible. वो होता है कैसा ना, it is feasibility is low बोलते हैं इसको हम उसको, ज़्यादा feasible नहीं. Okay, right. And it is based on the current scenarios. Current क्यों बता रहा हूँ कि आज का feasibility report 6 महीने बाद may not be valid. But the process followed by in that report, okay, the steps taken should be valid because they should be a part of a very well articulated roadmap. Now, it has to be based on some facts, like your plot area is a fact, and some assumptions such as what? Selling rate, construction cost, okay, the rental, मतलब वहाँ area में what is the rent per square foot. These are the assumptions. There is no guarantee that selling rate itna hi hai, rent itna hi hoga. But this is something which you make assumptions because all feasibility reports, they have no, I'm not talking about redevelopment. Any feasibility report in the world, for whatever purpose prepared, there have to be assumptions. There's no report without an assumption. And as I said, it has to be a realistic preview of the project. जैसे हम लोग पिक्चर का क्या देखते हैं, ट्रेलर देखते हैं, बट पिक्चर पहले बनता है, ट्रेलर बाद में बनता है. इट्स नॉट लाइक दैट. व्हाट यू सी इज अ ग्लिम्स ऑफ व्हाट कैन हैपन इन फ्यूचर. सो ए प्रीव्यू ऑफ रीडेवलपमेंट प्रोजेक्ट एज अ बिजनेस मॉडल. Why? Because the developer, we are using the vision of the developer to use that. Primarily based on FSI potential. Now, this is again an answer. Developers viewpoint, not PMC's offer. कभी-कभी सोसाइटी में ऐसा मैंने सुनने को आता है, अरे उस PMC का ऑफर इतना है, उसमें when the PMC gives a report and he says 30, उस PMC का ऑफर 30% है, उसका ऑफर कुछ नहीं है. He has done an independent study and he has presented facts with you, and he has sort of thought that you are likely to get this kind of offers. And this report has to be presented to the general body and it has to be explained to the general body in all its entirety. Very important. People should not just go by the final numbers. They should understand what is good about the project, what is not so good about the project, what can be done about that, why the tender has to be structured this way, what precautions we need to do, need to take, all that thing. So this report has to be presented to the general body and adopted by them, not approved. Sometimes people use the word approved in general body. Who is general body to approve a professional report? But it has to be adopted as a standard on which the further process of redevelopment can take place. Now let's understand the process. So the process, as I explained, first it has these three I would say broad steps. First is technical feasibility, second is financial viability, and third one is results. So all you see here in blue, in green, are the technical things. So what your PMC has to do, he has to first study in depth all your documents. Okay, documents, what documents we will see later. There are so many. इसको पूरा स्टडी करना है, अप्रूव्ड प्लान स्टडी करना है, रिमार्क स्टडी करना है, टीपी रिमार्क, डीपी रिमार्क्स, आरएल रिमार्क्स, to find out what if is your plot getting affected by anything which is mischievous. Okay, this is one. Then identify the constraints. पहले आपको देखना है कि इसमें प्रॉब्लम क्या है, अच्छा क्या है बाद में अपने आप आने वाला. Is there a constraint? Like say height restriction है क्या इसमें, किस तरह का है? What could will there be a challenge for consuming the FSI for technical feasibility or such any such constraint? ठीक है, तो okay, another constraint could be that is this plot belonging to a big layout? उसका सब डिवीजन नहीं हुआ है, तो सब डिवीजन नहीं हुआ, it's a big constraint, काम बहुत बाकी है. So that has to be understood because subdivision is also going to, there is going to be a cost to be incurred for that. And then once this study has been properly done, then an appropriate DCPR regulation has to be chosen, which is suitable for that plot. DCPR regulations, which we here, हम लोग जो सोचते हैं 33(7)B, 33(11), 33(20)B, 33(9), जो भी है, then maybe a clubbing scheme 33(7)B plus 33(12), जो भी सब होता है. Since we are in process, we will not be discussing the schemes. We are essentially here to understand the process. And वो regulation में how much FSI is available and what is the mode of redevelopment. What are the steps if we follow that process for that regulation? And depending on all these three parameters, decide techno-commercial parameters and assumptions which I just explained a little while ago. तो यहाँ इतना सारा चीज पहले करना पड़ता है as a technical feasibility, then only you can move on to the financial viability. Now, financial viability is basically a mathematical model. Okay, not very easy model. जो जिस तरह मैंने आपको explain किया था, that was just a concept. But then the point is, the first is that we have to estimate various project costs. Project के लिए, project बनाने के लिए cost कितना है? I give you an example of, I said maybe there are 30 different types of costs. That's possible. So total project क्या है, cost क्या है, और वो किस तरह के है, कौन से cost कब लगते हैं? Like say construction cost is not something which you need to incur right in the beginning. You incur it after, you meaning the developer incurs it after you vacate. And then it, like if your project is say 3 years duration, then the project cost, construction cost is spread over 3 years. Whereas there are some costs, approval costs, which have to be incurred right in the beginning. So that has to be understood. Then once you understood the cost, the second part is the revenue, the developer revenue and the cash flow. This is, I have seen that in fact, so far I in any of the reports I have not seen this cash flow understanding. It's only total like for 400 crore, 400 crore पे ऊपर 25%, so 500 crore, that kind of thing. But it doesn't happen that way. Cash flow is definitely important to understand how much money is to be invested at what stage. Okay, if a lot of money is to be invested at the beginning, then the interest cost can be high, the finance cost can be high. There are so many things. Maybe if time permits, then we'll discuss more about that. But cash flow is important. Like say, for example, what you need to do is that if your project is say, what we do is that if our project is say 36 months का project है, तो हम उसको क्वार्टर्स में डिवाइड करते हैं, 3 महीने का क्वार्टर, 12 quarters of 3 months each. और उस क्वार्टर में कौन सा कॉस्ट आता है, दैट वी सी. लाइक से रेंटल कॉस्ट, maybe you take for every 3 months, whatever. So we put the cost there where they belong. If it is the approval cost, TDR cost, depending on what you have in mind to do the feasibility report, depending on the assumption. If TDR is to be loaded entirely in advance, if that is the assumption, then all that cost will happen right in the beginning. फिर रेंटल कॉस्ट थोड़ा बाद में जाएगा, फिर और if that area is not to be loaded in advance, so for part of it, maybe 65% of that will happen in the beginning, and maybe 35% will happen, say maybe 18 महीने के बाद, so that a cash flow becomes easier. Like that, revenue also has a cash flow. You have to build a model wherein जैसे मतलब कॉस्ट जिस क्वार्टर वाइज जा रही है वैसा रेवेन्यू में तो आ रहा है, रेवेन्यू भी तो आ रहा है, बिकॉज फ्लैट्स आर बीइंग सोल्ड. ओके, सो इट्स अ एक्सपेंस हो रहा है, रेवेन्यू आ रहा है, दैट काइंड ऑफ अ मॉडल. So that cash flow has to be established and then decide on the feasibility criteria which you want to apply to that. अभी मैंने जो देखा है कि all the PMC, all I will not say PMC, all the feasibility reports which I have so far encountered, so far, उसमें मतलब एक ही क्राइटेरियन दिया जाता है कि टोटल इफ इट इज 400 crores project, 25% or maybe 20%. But there are other criteria also what the developer would look at. So if whatever they are, then you have to understand them also. And once all this exercise is done, technical and financial, then comes the stage of putting those things in form of reports. Then you have to, then the PMC has to prepare detailed cost statements. I am saying details. Detail means even construction cost, whatever it is, there has to be a breakup. कैसा आया उसमें भी what was the FSI cost, what are the amenities cost, what are the so many things. I mean, there are 5-6 parameters even in construction cost. That has to be actually worked out properly. So then statements have to be prepared for cost, revenue, and FSI. Then, and based on that, the estimated membership, the members का benefit है वो estimate किया जाता है, and तब जाके report बनता है. So these are the steps. Now let's go into the steps. So first step is technical feasibility, first type. Now इसमें क्या होता है? As I said, you have to first study property documents, old plans. पहले अगर आपके plans है तो आपको वो करने हैं. Okay. दूसरा information about from society, whatever you can get from information, OC, drawings, and everything. Okay, the list is there down below. There are some of the plans which you have to get from the society. जैसे conveyance होना चाहिए उनके पास, conveyance document. अगर किसी का कोई lease old land है तो lease deed. You have to see very carefully कि whether lease deed allows redevelopment. And if it does allow, then under what terms? Is the lessor wanting has he made any demand about? So we have to understand that. Then occupancy certificate, all the first line is all about things which can be found in society's record, all things which have to come from the society. उनके पास उनके approved plans होने चाहिए, OC certificate होना चाहिए. Then they have to undertake a physical survey, actual total station survey of the plot to understand physically area kitna hai, and then also arrive at the base carpet areas with consensus which I talked about a little while ago. Right? Now these are the documents documents or information which we have to get from the society. Then there are other public domain documents such as PR card, CTS plan, DP or TP remarks, RL remarks, like that. Okay. So these have to be obtained latest because they are public domain. पुराने नहीं चलते हैं. It's possible that they got modified later. Then how to decide plot area? जैसे जब ये हमने बोला कि FSI होता है, FSI is from the plot area, right? If the FSI is 2.7, if the FSI is 2.7, it is 2.7 into the plot area. So what is the plot area? Now, it is not so easy to decide the plot area. अगर आपका property card आपके नाम पे है, then you know the plot area. But otherwise, in fact, sometimes even then, your plot area is not clear. Your PMC has to figure out what area will be. Figure out कि इस project में किस type का what will be the plot area to be used, because your conveyance will mention a certain area which belongs to you, and that will be a number, like say 2000 square meter, and something, of course. there may be annexure and things like that. वो सब ठीक है. Then your PR card may mention the different area. If your PR card, if your plot is in say a large layout, जिसमें आपका PR card subdivision हुआ ही नहीं, तो पूरे plot का area बताएगा. So your area may be 2000 square meter, but the layout may be 20,000 square meter. कुछ भी फायदा नहीं उसका. Then, but number will be mentioned there. So in conveyance also there's a number mentioned. In PR card also there's a number mentioned. But a plot area can also be seen in a CTS plan, but not as number. वो number mention नहीं करते. CTS plan is a plan which you get from the CTS office, which is drawn to scale. So your PMC can scale it out and estimate what could be the plot area, which may not tally so much with the other areas, लेकिन थोड़ा 2-3% तक difference में it can tally if the other area is also correct. Then there is a fourth area. See, conveyance area, PRC area, CTS area. Then there's a fourth area which is a physical survey area, which you have just done the total station survey. And कुछ उसमें से area आया हुआ, shape आया आपका plot का. And fifth source could be you refer to your old approved plan, and you get some information there also. So your PMC has to decide which plot area has to be taken from all these 5 different sources. So it's not that you have got it on PLC and you are done with that. Not like that. So this is an exercise by itself. Then you have to understand कि आपके यहाँ road width कितना है. POS जो मैंने बोला 5% जाना है वो जा रहा है कि नहीं. Setback, is there going to be a new setback as per the DP sheets, DP remarks? Or was there earlier setback which the benefit for which you are not claimed? Are there any reservations in your plot? Are there any encroachments in your plot? अगर encroachment है तो उसको किस तरह से आप maybe you cannot handle that encroachment right now. चीज ये ऐसा होता है ना कि एक फायदा feasibility report का ऐसा होता है कि if you have understood the problem, you can still start a project like in case of encroachment, and with that knowledge in mind, with that declaration in mind in your tender document, and handle it at a different stage. We have done such projects like that. So उसमें कुछ आपको these are called challenges. Challenges है तो समझ लेना है उसके ऊपर उसका आज या आगे उसका अपने को solution निकालना है. Now, well, is there any restriction कि आप वो project कर ही नहीं पाएंगे? COD, okay, ordnance report अगर है या CRZ में है, तो आप मतलब CRZ में है आप कर ही नहीं पाएंगे. या आपके पास कोई लिटिगेशन है तो उस लिटिगेशन का क्या मीनिंग होता है. कन्वेंस आपके पास है ही नहीं तो कन्वेंस आपको कराना पड़ेगा. So these can be restrictions which also have to be looked into. Then permissible height. Now see, permissible height तो हर प्रोजेक्ट के लिए होती है. Those of you who are from Mumbai, permissible height विले पार्ले में भी होती है, ईस्ट में permissible height बोरीवली में भी होती है. सब यहाँ permissible height. But low permissible height is a problem which can happen in Santa Cruz area, Vile Parle area, Kurla area. So is there something like that which is affecting our plot? See, अगर ऐसा है that whatever is our FSI, if it is a possibility that our FSI is quite a lot, but we may not be able to consume that FSI in our plot because of a stringent height restriction, which is not there in Borivali. बोरीवली में तो अपन बहुत ज्यादा ऊपर, लेकिन विलेपार्ले में एरिया जैसे में अगर ऐसा है तो to understand कि roughly how much FSI can be consumed is important to know. Okay, not full FSI can be consumed, but yes, to approximately for that some planning or say massing, जिसको बोलते हैं rough planning has to be done, which can be a separate exercise to understand कि roughly कितना FSI consume हो सकता है. You cannot be sure at this stage. That percentage, let's say, maybe you come to a figure of say 90% of the FSI can be consumed. Now that 90% may increase later on, say to up to 95% or 92%. But at this stage, you can only do some informed calculations and come to some kind of a baseline figure, which again becomes an assumption. जैसे मैंने बोला आपको कि फिजिबिलिटी रिपोर्ट में assumption बनती है, तो ये एक assumption बन जाएगा जिसके ऊपर आपका फिजिबिलिटी रिपोर्ट खड़ा होगा. Then of course you have to choose the DCPR regulation and calculate the FSI potential. Now these are the steps for technical feasibility. Now let's move over to financial viability. Financial viability में there are three aspects: cost, revenue, profit or viability. Let's first see the cost. Now, as I said, there can be 30 different types of costs. But these costs, you can group them, at least we have grouped them for your better understanding, into three types. Okay. The first type is construction cost. If I say there are 30 different types of costs, okay. So construction cost is the single most important cost because it is perhaps 30 to 40% of your total cost. बाकी सब बहुत सारे costs होते हैं individual, they are important also. But a single cost of so much magnitude is construction cost. So what do you construct? You construct FSI potential, you construct staircase, lift and lobby areas, you construct. There may be few of FSI, but you construct. You construct basements, podiums, refuge areas, built amenities such as society office, fitness center, clubhouse. These are the things which you construct. So when you construct them, there is a cost. Like say the construction cost may be something like between 3,000 to 4,000 rupees a square foot of the constructed area. Okay, depending on where you are constructing and what kind of amenities or specifications which you are following. Then there are additional costs like you have to provide car parks, equipment, like say lift hoga, फिर stack car park हो सकता है if it's an equipment. Okay. Then there are land development, or say water pumps होता है, diesel generator हो सकता है. This could be the equipment. Then there's a land development. There's a like open terrace में भी आजकल कुछ amenities बनते हैं, तो उसका भी cost लग सकता है. And for doing all this construction, there is to be manpower employed, and the project has to be managed. So the construction project management costs. So all these total costs has to be. So when people say हमारा construction cost इतना है, they have to understand 2 points here. कई बार ना लोग बोलते हैं अरे इतना कंस्ट्रक्शन कॉस्ट, कभी-कभी डेवलपर बोलता है हमारा कंस्ट्रक्शन कॉस्ट है ना 6,500 स्क्वायर फीट रुपीस पर स्क्वायर फुट है, पर आप चेक करते इतना थोड़ी हो सकता है. But the point is, he may be talking in terms of 6,500 square feet of per carpet area. Whereas, if you do it on this constructed area, the same may translate into 3,250. So this kind of, so we have to understand that it is what it is applied on which area and what does it include. Now, some developer may put construction project management as a different head cost in the cost. Some developer may include in the construction cost. So there's no apple to apple comparison. And that is why you have to, that some people ask me, PMC ki zarurat hai kya? 79 EMA, all that. There are questions like that. You see, PMC ki, let me address that. You definitely need a PMC, you definitely need a good PMC, because if he is not there, where are you going to, how are you going to handle this project? Transparency you can handle within the society. But these are the insights and these are the things which are of really great importance. That's why you need a PMC. So let's move on. So these are the different costs here. And as I said, approximately 30 to 40% of total project cost is the construction cost. And it is incurred as per the progress of construction. ये चालू कब हो जाता है? आप जब भी वेकेट होते हैं ना, उसके बाद होता है. When there is an excavation. और खत्म कब होता है? When the construction is over. So this cost is not encountered at one go. It is spread over maybe 36 months, maybe 30 months, 33 months, whatever. Now, this is type of A. One cost, that is construction cost. Now, in B, I have got so many costs, not one cost. but I call them, the group I call cost of approvals and permits. Okay. Permits means construction permits. Now, the first cost will be rectification of property documents if required. For example, your plot is in a big layout and subdivision and all that thing is to be done. उसका तो cost है, वो कहीं तो लेना पड़ेगा. Then the premiums, we talked about premium FSI, fungible FSI for which premium has to be paid, staircase FSI premium. There's another premium called open space deficiency premium. If you do not leave the open spaces as specified, then you have to pay that much open space deficiency estimated premium, which is a very big amount. Then the cost of TDR, that has to be estimated. Cost of fees and charges, deposits, everything that is to be paid to the approving authorities such as BMC or MADA or maybe SRA. Then the professional fees and out-of-pocket expenses for getting the approval, professional fees of the developers consultants. Developer architect अपॉइंट करेगा, PMC अपॉइंट करेगा, PMC मतलब उसका PMC I'm talking, not the society PMC. वो कॉस्ट इसमें नहीं है. तो suppose he appoints his PMC for his project. Then structural engineers, the plumber, and so many other professionals are appointed. Lawyer. Okay. So yes, of course, वो भी he will build into that. And out of this, there are many costs which are linked to RRR, that is ready reckoner, nothing to do with the RRR movie. So it's a ready reckoner rate. So ready reckoner rate, or there are many, like say TDR in a way is also linked with ready reckoner. All the premiums are linked. Then in fee charges, deposits also, there may be certain factors which are linked with ready reckoner rate. When you are getting, so these are the many costs are linked with ready reckoner rate. Now, approximately 30 to 40% of total project cost is incurred as part B. But remember, इसमें बहुत सारे cost है, तब जाके 30 to 40% हुआ. Whereas construction cost was a single component which cost roughly of the same amount. ये मैं आपको percentage क्यों बता रहा हूँ? Because next time when you get a report from your PMC, आपको roughly आएगा. You don't go by these percentages, exact ऐसे तो नहीं होता है. Okay. And when are these costs incurred? Since we are talking about approvals, जब तक approval नहीं आता है, आप vacate नहीं करते, so you will vacate only when you get the approvals. So these costs are incurred, most of them, before you vacate. So they are upfront costs. Of course, if you allow the developer to load TDR later, maybe after 18 months, तो थोड़ा cost वहाँ चला जाएगा. Okay, partly. But a large part of it will have to be incurred right in the beginning. And that is the upfront investment for a developer. Now let's go to part C. Now part C, maybe there are three types. इसमें member benefits and other costs. Member benefits means, like, members are getting benefits. Members are getting rent, members are getting corpus, members are getting brokerage charges, shifting. ये सब member को जो मिल रहा है, या सोसाइटी को जो PMC अपॉइंट किया उसका फी जो देना है, that also they want from the developer to pay. So whatever society wants, for them, for their members, for the society, and for their own team, okay, that becomes a cost for the developer. That's a payout which has to be made by the developer to the society or to the members. उसमें क्या आता है? Rent, brokerage, shifting charges, which I just mentioned. Corpus, which is also called hardship compensation. Professional fees of PMC and other consultants. If society also wants to appoint a lawyer, अगर कन्वेंस नहीं हुआ है तो सोसाइटी wants to appoint a conveyance consultant. अगर दो सोसाइटी को मर्ज करना है तो सोसाइटी appoints another consultant for amalgamation of the society, the amalgamation, whatever it is, that these also have to be factored into the feasibility report as the cost to be borne by the developer for the society. Then there are other costs, like such as stamp duty which has to be paid. Bank guarantee charges. अगर आप bank guarantee ले रहे हैं, तो to sustain the bank guarantee, the bank is going to incur or the developer is going to incur some charges which the bank is going to charge. उसको भी factor अपने को करना पड़ता है. GST को factor करना पड़ता है. Then marketing charges, okay, brokerage charges, finance cost or interest. So these are the other charges which the developer has to incur. And finally, there are some special provisions to be made, not every time. Like for example, contingency, मतलब something can go wrong. Like for example, आपकी construction cost. Suppose materials cost increases. Okay, this is again developer is going to make this, all these costs. So he can make a provision, say 5% for all the construction costs, just in case the cost which has been assumed by him, okay, increases by 5%. There can be some settlement amounts. Imagine if you are doing a project where your land is a collector land, and you have to get that collector land converted, get it converted into your fair so that you become the owner of that. Freehold करना है आपको. So a certain premium has to be paid to the collector's office. Now, these are the costs which have to be paid upfront. Okay. Now, why do I call it settlement amount? Okay, settlement amount is a term. ये जो premium मैंने बोला है settlement amount नहीं है. But imagine you are trying to revive a project which is abandoned by a earlier developer या उसका contract terminate किया. तो उसको कुछ पेमेंट देना पड़ेगा. तो that amount has to be factored in. Or you are not you are in a leasehold land, and the lessor, who is actually the owner of the plot, you are not the owner of the plot. So he is going to demand say 20 crores from your property. He said अगर ये नहीं है तो I am the owner, मैं आपको develop करने नहीं दूंगा. So there is a certain amount to be paid as a settlement, and that can be a substantial. This is to be understood right in the beginning and provided for or factored into your feasibility report. Now this could be 25 to 35% of the project cost. Now when I say this, settlement amount can be really large. उसको हमने 25 to 35% में नहीं पकड़ा है. Okay? क्योंकि अगर वो इतनी बड़ी हो सकती है कि then the percentage can be very high. Now some of these costs are like say settlement amount or premium to be paid to collectors. They have to be paid upfront before you vacate. कभी कुछ like rent जैसी cost है आपको at the time when the project is happening देना है. Then a certain part of like say corpus which is to be paid at the end. So you have to understand that, and in the cash flow you have to mention or put them there for that particular quarter. Now, having talked about the costs, we talked about types of costs. Calculation can be involved, okay? Maybe later on, sometime after we come out of this, this is my, मतलब मैं चाहता हूँ ऐसा कि एक बार ये process वाले webinar से, we are going to run this process, have webinar which will take you through the website right up to the end. So we are going step by step. 1, 2, 3, 4. The next webinar will be on tender, like that. Once all that is over, I am planning to have theme-based webinars which will give you more insights. ये भैया feasibility report बनता कैसे, उसमें जाता क्या है, किस तरह से देखना है, उसमें से कुछ किस फैक्टर को किस तरह से. So let's see if that is possible, do that also. Now, after calculating the cost, now there is a time for the revenue. Okay. Now revenue किस तरह से आता है? Remember, cost may be 30, revenue is only 1. That is sale. Okay. And that is why revenue selling rate is an extremely important assumption. Because अगर सेलिंग रेट आपका बदलता है, if selling rate is even 1,000, आपको लगता है कभी-कभी अगर सेलिंग रेट आपने से 40,000 सेलिंग रेट है, उसका 5% बढ़ा के 42,000 कर दिया, तो आपका कारपेट एरिया का कैलकुलेशन कैन इंक्रीज बाय 10%. सेलिंग रेट इज दैट इन्फ्लुएंशियल इन योर feasibility calculations. Okay. And remember one, और एक अलग से मैं आपको एक्सप्लेन करूंगा. If there are 30 different costs, तो उसमें समझो कुछ चेंज होता है, तो इट इज हैपनिंग, एक कॉस्ट में कुछ चेंज होता है. सो द चेंज इज इन 1 out of 30 costs. Of course, it can be important change, but 1 out of 30. Whereas if the change happens, if the selling rate goes up or down, then it affects the entire project. Okay, so sale of flat shops, offices, or sale of car parks, this is the source of revenue. Now, वायबिलिटी कैसे देखते हैं? आपके डेवलपर जब भी आता है, आपके प्रोजेक्ट को किस तरह से देखता है? तो कॉस्ट निकाला, रेवेन्यू निकाला. नाउ लेट अस सी व्हाट वुड बी हिज वायबिलिटी क्राइटेरिया. आई नो द कॉस्ट, आई नो द रेवेन्यू. ओके, नाउ मुझे इसमें से क्या चाहिए? सो नॉर्मली देन the simplest assumption people make is this: 25% 400 crore के ऊपर दे दिया, मिल गया. 25% is a very ballpark figure. If the project is 400 crore, maybe or 20% maybe मान जाओ, but still it's a percentage. Okay, so imagine आपने बोला पूरा पूरा TDR upfront लोड करो, या तो आपने बोला पूरा कॉर्पस हमको upfront दो. So whether you are asking full corpus upfront, full TDR loading upfront, so many full upfront, और 400 करोड़ का आपने प्रोजेक्ट खड़ा कर दिया. ओके, एंड उसके ऊपर 25% हो गया. एंड देयर इज अदर सोसाइटी कि उसने 400 करोड़ का ही प्रोजेक्ट है, बट उसने कॉर्पस अपफ्रंट नहीं मांगा, बट आगे मतलब इस स्टेज मांगा, टीडीआर भी 2 स्टेज. सो इन द सेकंड स्टेज द डेवलपर इज बेनिफिटेड बाय कैश फ्लो. सो दिस ballpark figure of 25% actually is not that much important. आपको वो देखना है. Okay, fine. But more than that, there are other things. That is why I talk so much about the cash flow when I was discussing on that slide. So gross profit 25% मिलना चाहिए. कोई डेवलपर बोले 20%, whatever percentage. लेकिन percentage पे निकालना is just one of the criteria. The second criteria could be the internal rate of return. I'll explain this part. Those of you who have some background in financial management or used this term in your work at work or something, they will understand it. See, typically a project, a redevelopment project is a reinvestment model. क्या करते हैं आप? थोड़ा इनिशियल इन्वेस्टमेंट कर दिया डेवलपर ने, देन रेरा रजिस्टर हो गया, देन यू स्टार्ट सेलिंग. नाउ सेलिंग के बाद ऑल्सो, सो देयर आर अपफ्रंट इन्वेस्टमेंट, देन you get some money when you start selling, then you again put in money for construction or for rental, again you sell, again you put in the money. So then there's you get money and you pay money, you get money and you pay money. This is, depending on that. So what you need to do, एक्सेल में देखिए IRR, इंटरनल रेट ऑफ रिटर्न, ये कॉन्सेप्ट थोड़ा आप गूगल में जाके अगर समझ लेते हैं, एंड देयर आफ्टर इन एक्सेल देयर इज अ फॉर्मूला. आपको ये सब करने की जरूरत नहीं. देयर इज अ फॉर्मूला ऑफ IRR. इफ यू प्रेजेंट दोस द कैश फ्लो इन अ सर्टेन मैनर एंड इंडिकेट टू द एक्सेल फॉर्मूला, इसका IRR निकालो, निकालते हैं. But for that, you have to organize your data in terms of what you are going to invest, what you are going to get, like that. And वो IRR भी निकालेगा, और उसके बाद में using the same kind of invest, मतलब आप पहले let's say revenue पहले quarter में, let's say you sell only 5% of your property or the flats. Then you sell another 5% in next quarter. Then you sell maybe 10%. You can make some kind of an assumption and set it up there in the cash flow for every quarter. Let's say if it is 36 months, 12 quarter. आप ये सेटअप करो. सेटअप करने के बाद कॉस्ट भी सेटअप करो. If I get time, I will show you कैसे होता है थोड़ा, but I'm not sure about it. Let's see. और उसके ऊपर then you use IRR and then you find. So IRR is an indication of the internal rate of return or the cash flow. Okay. Now, if you ask developer to pay everything upfront, the IRR will be a small value, 25% आएगा or something, and developer says like. But if you allow him to spread that, cost something over a period of time, then the IRR can. So those of you who make, thinking कि भाई project को viable कैसे किया जाए, this is one of the methods. Maybe the total is 25% only, but you work on a. Typically, we work with an IRR which is 35% plus, mostly 40%. Then initial investment and cash flow. तो मैंने ये देखा है कि developers, I have seen that they use these 3 criteria, not all of them, but some of them. We have worked with some major developers, some corporate developers, and we have found that they look at your project, एक तो 25% or whatever percent वो कितना मिल रहा है. Then what would be the IRR they will get out of it, and what they also want to know कि initial investment मेरा क्या है. So before vacating, I have come across developers who think that the initial investment which they are asked to invest, okay, in that project should not be more than their net profit. Of course, this is again their perception. ऐसा जरूरी नहीं कि ऐसा ही होना चाहिए. So if your initial investment out of 400 crores, if your initial investment is say 125 crores, then they would expect a profit of 125 crores. Okay, फिर वो बैलेंस ऐसा तीनों चीजें देखी जाएगी, all three, and then there will be a kind of comparison and things like that, and accordingly the developer will give you the offer. So these could be the viability criteria, not just a simple ballpark percentage, but cash flow as well as initial investment. So and developer offer depends on that time when he's going to do this thing, his individual perception and expectation. उसको expectation क्या है वो है, individual perception का meaning ऐसा होता है, sometimes you will find कि कुछ project बहुत ज़्यादा viable बन जाते हैं, which is not seen at the time of MC doesn't see it at the time of feasibility report. वो क्या हो जाता है, especially when there is a commercial utilization. Okay, like for example, if someone thinks or he is confident, his perception कि उसको यहाँ एक नीचे एक क्या बोलते हैं अपन उसको डीमार्ट जैसा स्टोर, ओके, वो स्टोर बना सकता है. एंड इफ ही हैज अ प्रायर इंक्वायरी, अरे भाई हमारे लिए इस एरिया में हमारा स्टोर नहीं है, ओके, मेगा स्टोर नहीं है, बनाना है क्या आपके पास प्रॉपर्टी. So that could be the developer's perception, because of which he can give a more offer. There are many perceptions. I have seen a developer taking a project at lesser than normal expectation because he wanted to keep the entire 2 floors for himself. Plus, uski family. So he has that individual person. So there are other factors which are, of course, we cannot factor them because we don't know who the developer is. लेकिन जब ये डेवलपर ऑफर देता है उसके बेसिस से अपने को थोड़ा अंदाज आ सकता है, मे बी ही एक्सप्लिसिटली सेज दैट. सो नाउ लेट्स मूव ओवर टू द रिपोर्ट. ये स्टडी तो हो गया भाई, इसका रिपोर्ट. नाउ लेट मी शो यू वो रिपोर्ट में क्या क्या आना चाहिए. अगेन नॉट जस्ट कैलकुलेशंस. तो पहले देखो इसमें अगेन रिपोर्ट शुड आल्सो हैव 3 parts: data, the calculations, and when I say calculations, detailed calculations. कंस्ट्रक्शन कॉस्ट है अगर आता है तो फिर वो लाइक से कंस्ट्रक्शन कॉस्ट इज 150 करोड़, तो 150 करोड़ कैसे आता है, what is the built-up area, what is the amenity area, all that has to be considered and then it has to be calculated. Okay, so calculations and then the results. So in data, your report should bring out, I mean, when I say this is a word file, I'm not talking about only the calculations. Reference documents, कौन से document के ऊपर ये report बना हुआ है, data क्या क्या मिला, lot description and FSI potential, what are the assumptions made, what are the parameters used for calculating or doing of the feasibility report. काफी मतलब 3-4 पेज का ये सब होना चाहिए. These are the basis. अगर कल जाके आप देखते हो ना कि इसमें like if there is a variation, then you are able to relate with it. कि this is what it changed. That is why the feasibility report now will be different than what it was earlier. Then detailed feasibility calculations, which I explained. Then there should be detailed statements of cost, revenue, returns, and FSI distribution. Remember this. Total FSI आया. Okay, जैसे आप balance sheet बनाते हैं. In balance sheet you have, on the left hand side you have assets, on the right hand side you have liability. या तो हम लोग जिसमें हम लोग मराठी में बोलते हैं जमा खर्च बनाते हैं, something like that. Okay, there is a line in between. So like that, your FSI also has to be understood from that angle. From which different areas. So FSI came in, the total potential, FSI potential came in as basic FSI, then premium FSI, then fungible, कैसे आया, कितना आया. Okay. Then उसमें से carpet area कितना consume हो गया. And on the right hand side, whatever FSI came, finally how it was allocated between the society and the developer. This should your report should give you a clear picture from where the FSI. So source of funds. This is for those of you who are with an accounting background. Source of funds, application of funds. So what we look at it as source of FSI कहाँ से आया और source of carpet area application कहाँ गया. So this can be very, very useful to understand why things are happening. How much of total FSI is coming to the society? How much of total FSI is going to the developer? And then the financial criteria which you have used, which I just explained, that should also be a part of your calculations. And then finally, probable member benefits and terms, constraints and challenges, अगर आपको कोई नजर आई है, advantages and caution points. Now let me go to the concluding remarks, means kind of a summary. Okay. So हमने अभी देखा कि feasibility report कैसे बनता है, उसमें क्या क्या होता है. Now let us kind of compile what you have learned in applicable terms. पहले देखते कि भाई ये feasibility report के advantages क्या है. As you know, it forms a sound foundation for your project, and it gives you not just the commercial aspect, but also the technical aspect of that. So techno-commercial understanding it gives you. Then what realistic benefits can be expected? Good understanding of strengths, weaknesses, and challenges to be encountered in the project. Now, when you set it up, you can also try multiple options or scenarios and study them as a preview. When you are doing a feasibility study, आप अलग अलग से कर सकते. अगर पूरा रेसिडेंशियल किया तो कमर्शियली उसका वायबिलिटी कैसा है. If I allow only ground floor shops, how will the viability look? If I allow ground floor shops, first floor offices, तो कैसे होगा? So you can have different scenarios. Correct? So that can also be studied. Okay, you can also have scenarios depending on कि अगर selling rate, if it increases by so much, so what will happen? Selling rate decreasing by say 5%, what will happen? So you get the understanding of the dynamics of the project. Then, depending on the feasibility report, you have to position your project and adopt a proper strategy and disclosure for your tender. Once you have conducted that general body meeting and adopted the feasibility report, the next thing is that next step will be that you will be floating the tender. So for floating the tender, you have to, in the tender, what strategy you should appoint, then what disclosures you should make, how you should position the tender. Commercially, आप उसको benefit के लिए किस तरह से आपके benefits मांगे, upfront क्या मांगे, later क्या मांगेंगे, all that can be based on a feasibility study. Now it doesn't stop here. You can also use it as a basis for further action and negotiations with the developer. Okay, negotiations with the developer meaning after you uploaded a tender and then you will negotiate with the developer. When you are you get say maybe 10 offers or 10 proposals from the developer. When you are negotiating with the developer, this can come in handy as to how he has looked at it, because you and him, both of you have to understand the project well. You from the society side, he from the developer side. So now, what are the wider applications? Beyond this, how can first of all, a feasibility report can be useful as a techno-commercial basis to start a new project. अब तक तो अभी हमने यही तो किया. But beyond that, what can be done? Now let's see. Now it can be helpful for negotiating while selecting a developer. That also I said. then it can be helpful for negotiations for change in FSIO policy. Now see, we often put a clause in the tender that if the policy change, or policy when I say regulation, or if there is an increase in FSI, then the resulting additional benefits will be shared between the society and the developer, 50% or 50% or whatever. But on what basis? When we say increased benefits, where is the basis for that? So your feasibility report can come handy. In fact, what we do on our project, once a developer is about to be appointed, when the stage comes, when he's about to be appointed, then we tell him to submit his feasibility calculations as a record only for future reference, not to be उसको देख के हमसे उसके साथ वापस उसका ही लेके negotiate नहीं करना है. But we take it on as a record and we tell him, just in case there is a future exercise to be done, we will use this as a basis. And this, believe me, this becomes very, very useful. We have used this strategy for at least 4 or 5 projects. When someone, initially a project was awarded under 33(7)(b, and then he wanted to club that scheme with 33(12). चलो basis feasibility report लेके वहां से कर दिया, or FSI has increased. Earlier the project was stalled. Let's say a project was stalled, and then that time the TDR was not linked with the width of the road, and the project was given. But now the TDR is more because the plot is on a 27-meter wide road, so FSI is more. Now, how should we share the additional benefits? For that, the feasibility study can be very useful as a basis. Why? Because it's a helpful and a rational basis. It's a fair basis. It can be used as an objective tool to address internal variation. ये भी हमने किया है. Internal variation means what? A particular plot was given, okay? Or suppose you appoint a developer, and all the calculations are based on, say, a plot area of 3,200. And then something changes later on, and you either get a plot area of 100 square meter less. So क्या करें? So these are your internal variations. Or you are awarded a plot, the project to a developer, and your base areas are now, people are saying कि नहीं इतना नहीं है, and you do a recalculation, and you find that आपके base area of something like 3,000 square foot से बढ़ गए. Now the developer is not going to agree to that. वो बोलेगा आपने जो एरिया दिया था उसके ऊपर मैंने कोट किया. But if 3,000 have been consumed because of error which occurred at the society level, the report can be, feasibility report can be used, and the benefits can be adjusted rationally as an object, used as an objective tool, and the benefits can be adjusted rationally, which will be a win-win situation for society as well as the developer. Then this is I think there was a question also. Rational basis for group redevelopment projects. Well, we have prepared feasibility reports for group redevelopment projects on one occasion, or rather on 2 occasions. On one occasion for 2 societies, on one occasion for 4 societies, on one occasion for 7 societies, and on one occasion for 13 societies, wherein each society has a different plot area, different internal consumption. Okay, over consume था कुछ ज़्यादा over consume कुछ कम consume, something like that. Then each society fronting on a road which has a different width, all complexities. What this report was used, and if a society is overconsumed, naturally their benefits have to be lower than the society which has not been overconsumed. Okay, so this report, which was prepared in such a way, it became useful as a rational basis for the societies to agree. For those people, some societies getting 40%, some societies getting only 27%, but both societies had to agree because there was a feasibility report in place which became a rational basis. Fair basis to revive or stall or failed project. आपके अगर project कोई fail हुए हैं, तो नया developer आएगा, तो आपको उसके basis पे अभी he also has to be, I'll say maybe some जो ये हुआ था ना, आपने क्या बोलते हो, कोरोना टाइप सिचुएशन, in such cases we have used feasibility. For stall project means a project which did not happen for a long time, or phase project means a developer was terminated and a new developer comes in. The feasibility is the rational basis for striking a win-win situation. And I don't, since our website is on developer based redevelopment, I don't talk about much about self development. Maybe some other time we'll talk about that. But self-development can be used as a dynamic tool for self-development projects. These feasibility reports can be used as a dynamic tool. एक बार करके नहीं. जैसे balance sheet can be, you can do balance sheet at any time. 6 महीने में भी करके आप देख सकते हैं क्या हुआ क्या. So that अगर आपकी कंपनी के बैलेंस शीट आप 3 महीने पे करें, so you will understand where your company is going. Like that, if you are done a feasibility study and it's on record, then the study says how the project should go. And when you take the project on that road, okay, then actually how it goes. Depending on that, you can go on making the correction and use that as a dynamic tool in your self-development. Now, key influencing factors. कौन से ऐसे फैक्टर्स है जिसके ऊपर फिजिबिलिटी ज्यादा डिपेंड करती है? ओके, नंबर 1 इज एफएसआई, जिसका एफएसआई ज्यादा, अगर एफएसआई पोटेंशियल ज्यादा है तो यू विल हैव a better feasibility. If your road, let's say if your plot is on a 27-meter wide road, your feasibility will be much better than what it would have been if your plot had been on a 12-meter wide road or something like that. So FSI does matter. Then previous consumption of FSI, overconsumed. Overconsume का मतलब ऐसा है, I think there is a question. Overconsume का मतलब ऐसा है कि when your building was constructed last time, compared with the plot area which was given to you, you constructed that time more. How much more? That can vary. And why was so much constructed more? Because your plot was in a layout with so many different other plots, and there are wide roads which were constructed, gardens which were constructed there, and then parks were constructed, and all that FSI which was consumed in them, the benefit was given to you at that point of time when that building was constructed. But in today's terms, it appears that in today's terms, उस टाइम पे आपको जितना FSI आपने उतना ही बनाया. But in today's terms, as compared with the plot, you are already constructed much more. How much more? Believe me, there are some societies which have constructed almost 75% more. There are some societies 35%, depending on how much was consumed. अगर आपका ये और consumed है, then you have to look at it in this way that the benefit of FSI, उसको आपको जो मिलना चाहिए था on your current plot, वो आपको already पहले 30 साल से मिला हुआ है, part of that. And therefore, आज आपको जो percentage मिलने वाला है with that as basis, that is going to be less. So इस केस में then you can take a call कि आपको कौन सी अलग पॉलिसी में जाना है to make it more visible. Then type of utilization of FSI, new commercial. Now see, if your society, आपकी सोसाइटी में कोई पहले commercial, there is no shop or anything, no commercial utilization existing, okay? But now you want to make a commercial utilization and you believe that there is a good commercial potential there. Then naturally, this will influence your feasibility in a positive manner. But at the same time, remember this, that if you already have commercial in your existing building, तो नया आपके लिए करने को नहीं मिलेगा. On the contrary, the new commercial has to fit in today's context of open spaces and things like that, which can sometimes become a challenge. Okay? अगर पहले ही आपका ये है रेसिडेंशियल है और आप उसको कमर्शियल आज कर रहे हैं, then definitely your feasibility will look up definitely. Selling rate, as I said, selling rate, I'll give you an example. In one society, we increase the selling rate only by 40,000 का हमने 5% से बढ़ाया टू 2,000 रुपए से बढ़ाया। अभी 40 बेचने से कोई बड़ा लगता नहीं है। पीपल समटाइम्स से वहां सेलिंग रेट क्या है, तो अपन बोलते हैं 40-45 होगा, एज इफ 40-5,000 कोई ज्यादा बात नहीं है ऐसा, बट नॉट सो। If you what our finding was that if you increase the selling rate by just 2,000 rupees, since it applies to all the area of the selling of the developer is going to sell, okay, the benefit of society is जो उनको 40% मिलने वाले थे suddenly become 50%. So you must adopt a proper selling rate. अगर आप बहुत ज्यादा लेके काम करेंगे तो इट विल बी अनरियलिस्टिक, बहुत कम लेंगे तो आपको फिजिबिलिटी कम मिलेगी। Stages of loading of TDR and initial. I explained this to you. अगर आप you expect a developer to load the TDR right in the beginning, which is a good case, or you expect the corpus upfront so much, okay? Then the IRR will go down, and the developer's initial invest will be very high, and the offer will be less. Payout to society, again the same thing, terms of payment. अगर मैंने example दिया, आपने corpus upfront मांगा, so payout is going to be upfront, which is going to adversely affect your feasibility study. Pending litigation and settlement cost. Okay, जो मैंने आपको example बोला, like if you have a leasehold land, landlord is asking 20 crores, that is going to affect your feasibility. Of course, there are certain things for but you can understand why my feasibility is low as compared with the neighboring plot. उसका leasehold land नहीं था, मेरा leasehold land है, इसलिए I am taking the beating. He didn't have to. Now, when you have done a detailed feasibility report and study and report, then ये सब आप ना उसको trial and error के that what if kind of analysis which you usually do with an Excel sheet, you can do that. Now, some mistakes by PMC and society. अभी ये पहले ये रेड कलर में दिख रहे हो PMC वाले हैं, फाइनेंशियल कैलकुलेशंस विदाउट टेक्निकल ड्यू डिलिजेंस, ओनली नंबर गेम होता है, ऐसा भी होता है। Now, superficial calculations, not accounting for all costs. Major all costs are taken, or construction cost is estimated in a very superficial manner. Okay, meaning 4-5 costs are bundled together. So that should not happen. Simplistic understanding about financial viability, just वही ना 20%, 25% ऐसा नहीं. There are more yardsticks which also should be. But this is from the PMC's angle, because these are the things which are not in the society's purview. But society भी बहुत कुछ करती है mistakes. वो क्या है? Presumptions. बहुत जब भी मैं पूरा डिटेल कैलकुलेशन करके जाता हूँ ना, तो कोई तो एक चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट होता है सोसाइटी में, वो आके नॉट नेसेसरली चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट, एनीवन हु इज रीजनेबली गुड एट मैथ्स, he does some, he calls it a back of the envelope calculation, and then वो आर्ग्यू करता है, देखो मेरा बैक ऑफ द एनवेलप कैलकुलेशंस में ऐसा आता है, आपका ऐसा क्यों आता है? तो आई हैव टू टेल यू भैया, बैक ऑफ द एनवेलप कैलकुलेशन करना बंद करो, ये रिपोर्ट जाके स्टडी करो, इसमें कुछ है तो आप बोलो. सो this is again a simplistic approach which should not be taken. Secondly, comparing with some other place in the neighborhood. जुहू में इसको इतना मिला, इसको इतना मिला, इसको इतना, हमारा इतना कम. Okay, जुहू में means what? Every project is unique, that then believing actual offer will be higher than PMC's offer. ये और एक किया जाता है. There are assumptions and sometimes society people ask me, ये तो मिनिमम है ना, इसके बाद जाएंगे तो ज्यादा ही मिलेगा. My answer is minimum नहीं है. ये whatever assumptions I have made, based on that is it. अगर assumption में मैंने कुछ ऐसा minimum लिया है, then this is minimum. Otherwise, no. For whatever assumptions I have done, this is a realistic calculation. Increasing demands and expecting same offer. What happens is that feasibility होने के बाद कुछ सोसाइटी, अगर feasibility रिपोर्ट में हमने 2000 कॉर्पस का प्रोविजन किया है, तो टेंडर में जाएगा 3000. फिजिबिलिटी रिपोर्ट में 75 रुपीज पर स्क्वायर फुट रेंट बोला कि होगा, फिर टेंडर में जाएगा 90 रुपीज पर स्क्वायर फुट. नाउ these are increases are made at the time of tendering stage, कि बाद में थोड़ा आने दो, ज्यादा थोड़ा आने दो. बट पीपल फॉरगेट दैट द रिपोर्ट वाज बेस्ड ऑन समथिंग एल्स, एंड अगर आप ऐसा हाई करते जाएंगे, ओके, अच्छा बाय द वे, द कॉर्पस payout was, let's say, maybe 10% on agreement, another 30% on when you vacate, and 60% on when you come back. अगर ऐसा feasibility report में, लेकिन you demand 10% and then 80%, something like that. And then you say, अरे आपने ये इतना आने वाला ऐसा बताया था, additional capital इतना आया नहीं, तो इतना कैसे आएगा when the numbers themselves have you have inflated. Okay. Then getting multiple reports from all PMCs. Some societies don't like the PMC report, so they go for अच्छा और इससे भी लेते हैं, उससे भी लेते हैं. Rather than that, what the PMC should also prepare a detailed report, and society should study the report and point out if there is something. Getting multiple reports meaning what? Getting multiple scenarios, which even your PMC can give. उसके लिए अलग अलग PMC को अपॉइंट करने की जरूरत नहीं. और जब भी लास्ट वेरी वेरी ग्रेव मिस्टेक, जब भी कोई आता है ना कि भाई इतना ही फिजिबिलिटी है, देन लेट अस वेट, देयर बी अ बेटर टाइम, तभी हम रिडेवलपमेंट करते हैं. और वो बेटर टाइम कभी नहीं आता, बिकॉज इफ योर फिजिबिलिटी is low, understand the reasons, and the reasons may not be such that in future they will not be there. So with this, I think I'll conclude this. I will not go to that. Website. Let me just very quickly, if it is possible, I'll show. But I will run through that and take your questions. Okay. Yeah, now feasibility study, let me see if I strike feasibility. एक मिनट देखता हूं. What you need to do is that on the home page, on the left hand side, there are 5 options. The first phase is the feasibility study. You click in there, and then wow, lucky I'm. So अभी ये आ गया feasibility study. What you see here on this page itself, you will find key information or documents required for feasibility study कौन सी है. You can see a note here. Then contents of feasibility report and feasibility study and report के ऊपर एक note है. Then there is a roadmap here. I have clicked on feasibility study and report, which is the second stage. So you just see this for every for this stage, which is feasibility study stage. You will find there are steps given, how to one important, and there are 2 general body meetings specified there. One for getting your base criteria, and the second one for feasibility study. Then there are milestones which have been identified. Then there are records which are to be created. Guideposts are also given. Even there's a website also, how to create a website. That also has been given. Do's and don'ts is not yet ready. So with that, I think let's thank you very much for listening to you.
Thank you, Mr. Dhargalkar. It was indeed very much in depth. From the number of questions we have received, we can understand that this topic is very important. So on this particular subject, there is one video which is already there, specifically on the subject of visibility, which is available on our YouTube channel. So I think you all can visit that channel and watch that video. क्योंकि सवाल इतने थे कि मालूम पड़ रहा है कि बहुत लोगों को इसमें दिलचस्पी है. इस सीरीज का अगला वेबिनार हम जल्दी अनाउंस करेंगे, टेंटेटिवली ऑन 19th, and in that we will talk about beginning of phase 2, which is tendering and developer selection.
19th April.
Sorry?
19th April.
19th April, yes, it will be on 19th April. तो इस बारे में अपने सवाल भेजते रहिए. As I said, we will use these questions to formulate FAQs for the website so that anyone can access this information. And as I said earlier, by sending these questions, you are helping others also. We appreciate that you are visiting the website and posting questions there also. जैसे वेबिनार के शुरू में मैंने एक छोटी सी शिकायत की थी कि आप लोग विजिट कर रहे हैं लेकिन सब्सक्राइब नहीं कर रहे यूट्यूब चैनल को. I can see that during this 1.5 hours of session, the subscribers have gone up. So thank you. हमने एक शिकायत की और आपने उसके ऊपर अमल भी किया. Thank you very much. Today's presentation will be shared on the group PDF.
Video. No presentation.
Okay. So videos will be shared on the YouTube and link will be shared on the group and our website as well. So please do not exit. And like our earlier webinars, these two has been approved by ECI, and professional engineers registered with ECI will get 2 credit hours for attending. So such candidates may drop us a mail and we will confirm their participation. Is there anything else?
No, yes, we will open the group, no?
Yeah. We'll open the group now and you can give your valuable feedback. Let me take this opportunity to thank each one of you on behalf of Dhargalkar Technoesis for attending this webinar, and also our Technoesis team for their efforts and involvement. Thank you all. Have a nice day. Keep sending your feedback on the group.